Ready? I'm going to count us down from 3. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
This podcast contains scenes of violence, adult language, and if we did our jobs right, disturbing subject matter. Listener discretion is strongly advised.
Strongly advised.
Don't do it. All right, I think we got it, guys.
That was good.
Who just said language instead of adult language?
That was me. Yeah.
Ah, goddamn.
We're not trying again.
No, we're doing it. Hello and welcome to The Stars Aren't All Right. I am Brian, and usually I'm your keeper, but tonight I'm just a guy standing in front of his friends saying, hey, let's talk about the emotional trauma we all inflicted on each other for the last 25 or so hours. Tonight we are doing a recap of Season 1. It was amazing. There was ships were sank, ships,
Friendships.
I'm glitching out, guys. Fuck. I don't know where
Other
it is.
ships.
No one help him.
No one help him. So usually when we start the podcast, I would go around and I would go to our lovely players and I would say, hey, why don't you introduce yourselves and then your characters and then I'd have a little dumb improv question that we do. But I figure you guys are tired. You're busy. So why not just go back to the material that I already had?
Hello, my name is Juno Angevin, but really my name is Catherine, and I will be playing Juno Angevin. Faith Juno Angevin, a figurehead for the Church of His Light, Juno Angevin, and I'm playing Juno Angevin. Juno Angevin, grande latte, but she only likes 1.5% milk. Juno Angevin, Faith Juno Angevin.
I succeeded! Hey, Leah here. My character name is Glade Walker. Are we giving all the information? Glade Walker. Let the bodies hit the floor. Men and women through the door. Naked bodies hit the floor. Glade Walker, your mysterious emo fuckboy. I am Leah, and I am playing
The Third Mask.
Hi, I'm Alex. I was going to play Pyotr Gaius Maitland. I was going to play Pyotr until Brian decided to be late to the session by forgetting his shit. So instead, I'm playing Francis McGillicuddy, a hard-nosed, hard-drinking, hard-knock cop who is a credit to the Force and a notorious loose cannon. Theobald, who is a 7-year-old spotted tortoise. I'll be playing Nano Reagan, who is a tiny president with a big heart. Roberta Bondar, noted Canadian astronaut. P. Horton Shitty, Clickety Clack, who is the wooden doll from the Robaxa set commercials that everybody remembers from when they were a kid. I'll be playing a hyper-intelligent shade of the color pink. Maximilian Gorfunkius, honest, down-to-earth lube merchant. Bin baby from outside Oshkosh, but fuck you throughout this campaign. A lead guitarist of non-biologic salads, which is the galaxy's number 4 post-indie electro swing band, coming to a community center near you.
My name is Tom, and my character name is Lift. Sidar Lift. Kanto? Lift. Lift.
We'll be selling that as a ringtone.
Yeah.
$25.
So I feel like that should bring us to the very first point. R.I.P. Lift. Forever in our dreams. I received a text from Tom, and we want to get on top of this before the Reddit keepers get us.
Yep.
We read the rules wrong.
We did.
I read the rules
Really?
wrong.
I also helped.
the lift should have checked the dying checkbox. He should have only died if he went below his maximum hit points, which I misread in the rules. We talked about it, and I offered, not a retcon, but I offered Tom to keep playing lift if he had wanted to, because it was my mistake as the keeper. I should have been on top of that.
We talked about it, and fully and completely as lift, I went into that situation seeing what the mask had done, knowing that no matter what I do, I'm probably going to die. So lift dying was just the consequences of my actions, and I didn't want to take those back. It would feel dishonest to everyone who's jumped on the podcast to go back and be like, oh, he's actually alive. Lift, I think, was special because he was just a normal dude just trying to do his best with what he had, and he doesn't deserve a Deus Ex Machina of surprise, I'm alive, idiot. Just gonna live with the consequences of our actions. Lift did his best and succeeded at taking some shots for the mask, which was the goal.
Thank God it wasn't my fault. It was Brian's.
Well, let's not be too hasty here. You did some fuckery.
I do want to say for all the rules lawyers out there that even if he had checked the dying box, Piotr then tried to perform first aid on him. So that would have fucking killed him anyways.
And if given more time, Juno would have tried to shoot somebody else, inevitably getting him shot again. So
it's not the mask's fault, everybody.
I disagree.
So what should have happened rules-wise was Lift should have checked the dying box on the character sheet. He would have then had to have get a successful first aid check before his next turn, or he just would have died. We don't know if Juno might have made a persuade roll on her first aid check.
I've only done it a few times.
That's fair. Even if that was successful, he would then have to get a medicine check, not a first aid, medicine within an hour of receiving that wound. And otherwise, he's making a con check every hour. And if he fails any of those con checks, he dies. So we kind of like when we were talking about it, it was one of these scenarios where it's like, there's a potential. If you guys had have maybe, gotten that first aid check off and then gotten back to the ship and then the Deus Vault, you could have maybe gotten him on there. But there's a lot of ifs.
Yeah.
And when we talked about it, we just, as Tom said, we just it felt like such a deep, pivotal, emotional moment. We decided to keep it.
And the med bay on the Deus was still not operational, right?
On Violet King Henry was not operational, but the Deus Vault. So.
And it felt like the right way to move forward. Brian and I are both longtime DMs, keepers. I'm a big fan of consequences. I feel like consequences are what make any sort of narrative scenario worthwhile. And I fully knew the consequences of my actions. It was one of those situations where, I'll put myself in the line of fire again, and if I die, I die. At least I do it honestly. And to go back on that would feel like going back on the value of that moment. Not for me.
I think so. I have some questions here that kind of so listeners, you might be hearing in the background, we are recording in my apartment, which is not our usual space. We do have a special guest here, which is Ren, which is my dog. So you might occasionally hear some barks. You might hear her whine. You might hear her try to summon Satan, her
she
father.
Does that
I'm
often.
convinced. So
the whining could also be any of us, really.
That's very true.
We don't want to blame that on her.
As somebody who's run a game for you now for 11 episodes, yes, absolutely. The way I was thinking we could structure this is I have some questions for everybody, so I can just kind of go through. Does anyone else have questions for all of the cast, or is your questions for people specifically? Okay, cool. So what we'll do then, it looks like Tom and Leah have questions for the entire cast. So what I'll do is I'll start with my first one, and then we'll just trade until we're out of entire cast questions, and then we can go to specific questions and then just chat. We don't need to feel like super. If we don't get all the questions done, that's fine too. So first question to all of our players. This does feel maybe mean to Tom for me to ask it now that I'm reading it back, but are you satisfied with your arc? And what non-spoilery elements of your character, sorry Tom, are you excited to get into next season? Again, sorry, Tom, with apologies.
No, it's actually funnier when it starts.
Yeah, I'm excited for Lift to settle down, start a family.
Now that we have money, there's a whole white picket fence thing going on.
I mean, it might be too soon, but realistically, like, Lyft is pretty settled.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it too soon?
Yeah.
You can't really get much more settled.
Pretty stationary. Am I satisfied with Lyft's arc? Yeah. Audience, back me up here. I think Lyft had a great arc. I think that it was a lot of fun for me personally following the journey. I started this by writing like a very detailed backstory of how I met Doug, and then was just like, yeah, send it. These are some brief details about my life that I would have forgotten. And then the rest is up to you. Write it as you see fit. So living that in character was a ton of fun, and I don't think that there would have been a more poetic way for us to kind of cap off this season than by Lift doing what he did. For those of you, if you know, you know. I mean, like, very settled at this point. Going forward, I'm excited to play Francis McGillicuddy. He's a hard-nosed cop.
Whoa. You owe me fucking royalties, sir.
About Tree Fitty?
Yeah, they'll do it.
Okay, cool.
I find it interesting because one of the things that I've run Call of Cthulhu and D&D, like the two tabletop role-playing systems that I've run. I haven't really run anything other than that. So D&D is often described as a heroic system, right? Because you're so powerful and everything like that. I actually think of Call of Cthulhu as more of a heroic system. Because like in D&D, there's no real stakes to your character. So like D&D, if you're like, oh, I have a higher AC, so I'm going to stand in front of like the squishier one and then they'll heal me. Or like I'll get resurrected or whatever. So it is actually heroic to be like, I am going to stand in front of gunfire for this other character, because it's like, well, you might just be saying goodbye to that character. And so, yeah, I thought it was like Lift was actually heroic, which is why he died.
And I think Catherine brought this up when we were actually recording, but like most heroes just kind of wind up dead in the dirt. Like there's no fanfare. There's none of this fantasy hubbub. It's many heroic people are unnoticed in life. It's actually the people who don't die heroically who we hear about. It's the people who survive. Totally. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that was a very special moment for me. And having been with Lift for this whole thing, he would have done it for anybody. But the fact that it was Glade and Lift not interacting with the mask wouldn't know any better, and I don't think it would have changed his mind anyways.
Man, I loved that you made the choice to call Glade Sarge afterwards, and you just kept referring to Glade as Sarge afterwards too. It was such a beautiful detail that broke my heart every time.
Yeah, well, and that's just the thing, right? Like, obviously, Leah can talk about this with Glade, but we had very different reactions getting our memories back, and it was a lot for Lift to cope with, but he was not going to let go of the people who were important to him. And Sarge, Glade, was definitely one of those people. So it was a no-brainer decision. After the mask tried to shiv our Nino-Irish Geo Italian man. It's like, okay, a couple things are going to happen here. The mask is going to get shot in the face. Or I can try and get in the way of that. And I decided to get in the way of that. And I have no regrets.
Again, it was a beautiful moment. The rules kerfuffle aside, I think that it was like such a strong narrative moment, and like you say, just really cemented the consequences. That was really good.
Yeah.
All right, that was my first all cast question. Unless anyone else has anything they would like to riff on that, or follow up questions, then we can go to. Do you want Tom? Do you want to do the next one?
Yeah, I've got a question on lock. So
hold on.
Are we not?
Hold on. We're not going to everyone.
What?
I'm good with us just asking all cast questions and then Tom answering them. But no. I just want to make sure that
Tom has a question for all of us.
But you had an all cast question.
We just had an all cast question and Tom answered, and then you're like, "Well, that seems good. Moving on."
No one else answered the all cast question.
Yeah. Sorry. I should have said all cast that matters. That's on me. That's on me. All right, you guys. Yeah, I guess the rest of you can answer the question, I suppose.
You can cut these parts, right?
Yeah. I think anyone who's listened to the podcast has realized that I do not edit it to make myself sound good. And if I do, then that's a scathing indictment of my keepering. Yeah, for sure. Let's go around. So we'll just go, Leah, Catherine, and then Alex to answer that question.
Cool. Okay. Well, the only important person died, so we can just move on from that. Right. The question. I'm really happy with Glade's arc.
Okay, great. Thanks, Leah. Moving on.
I'm also happy with
Leah
Glade's arc.
sometimes has more to say than her character Glade. Sometimes. I had no idea like when the different masks would come out or how that would play out. And like a part of me was like, holy fuck, like the third mask came out in like the first episode. I was like, oh my God, it's happening. But then it worked so well that it was like very brief. So I thought it was really cool that you got like a little snippet at the beginning and the very end. You got to kind of see a little bit more about the third mask. And I'm really excited.
Sorry.
Brian's just wiping his little dog's ass with toilet paper.
In full.
Just for context, like we had a big discussion right prior to recording about like, oh, where are we taking this podcast? Like we all think it's going well. We want to take it seriously, that kind of stuff. And Brian, our fucking like leader, is wiping his dog's ass while we are recording.
Like in full eye contact with all of us. He just looks up and looks us all in the eyes as he's doing it.
Y'all ever have something normalized in your life? You don't realize it's weird until someone else. Anyway, I'm so sorry because my little demon here is being a little demon.
She's cute.
I do love the fact, because we didn't plan this, and it wasn't in my head that it was going to be this way, but we did have Glade bookend the season, right? The entire season, because we started with Glade and the kill mask, and then we ended with Glade. With the mask, essentially. So it was like not totally unplanned, but it was so like perfect that we got to just end on that note. It was, I really enjoyed it. I loved like when you first like pitched me the concept of the character, I was very interested, and I knew you were going to like crush it. And I loved watching how the different personalities kind of came through. Because to me, it was very obvious, right? Like there was like a very clear, distinct gear shift between like Butterfly, Driver Helmet, and obviously the mask. Yeah, the mask was pretty fucking obvious. But like the Driver Helmet to Butterfly, like Glade is like awesome. I really liked it.
Well, thanks. And so I'm really excited to continue playing the mask a little bit longer.
I don't really
show you what that little treat is.
Such a treat.
Are you prepared to share at this point? Is there a fourth mask or a fifth mask? Or is that something that we're going to have to wait and see?
Is there a 10th mask?
Ooh, or an end mask?
I loved it, like the idea that there's a 10th mask, but there isn't 4 through 9. Or those were all scrapped. There's just like, this is bullshit. No. One is the Hello Kitty mask.
They got cut in pre-production.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They didn't really scan. at all.
No.
So yeah, I'm very curious to see in season 2 how long the mask is going to be in the driver's seat. I think that's going to be really interesting to play with. So it's going to be fun. Alrighty. Anybody have any other questions for Leah?
I just want the driver mask to come back.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
I do.
Was sick.
Ooh.
The driver mask was just like, it's fucking Need for Speed, bitch. Let's go.
Although I have to admit, I realized like I had written the driver mask to be, a little bit more suave and like a little bit more like likable. But then I realized that like if the driver mask were to have sex, I'm like, how the fuck is she gonna have sex?
Right? Yeah, that's honestly, that was like when you were like, yeah, it's a Daft Punk helmet, and he's like, yeah, this is the one that I fuck in. I'm like, there's just picture. I could just hear the sound effect
alone.
I'm just picturing like like the sound of somebody hitting their head against a glass window.
I also don't think Glade was like huge on eye contact.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
It's all hands.
Juno just likes to look at herself in the mirror anyways.
Yeah.
So it works perfectly for her.
That is so fucking
I
believable,
think we're getting
actually.
into that after a couple more drinks.
Yeah, for sure. I have a new question.
What question?
Oh, man. Incredible. So that actually is a great segue. Catherine, do you remember the question?
I do remember the question.
Wow.
Before Leah answered the question, I did not remember the question.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I am happy with Juno's arc. I wasn't sure where it was going to go. I am a typical over planner. So for this, I really wanted to kind of overplan where made sense. So I overplanned kind of my backstory as much as possible, but I didn't want to strong arm any arc. And I did have some notes as we were kind of going along in the podcast that were ideas where I maybe wanted to take Juno, but it had to be the right time. What is it? The saying, the right move at the wrong time is still the wrong move.
Right. That makes sense.
So opportunities started to present themselves, and if the opportunity would present itself to kind of take one of these big moves, then I was ready and wanting to take them. But things naturally kind of went in a different order. And I'm still pretty satisfied with that. It is much different than I expected, but I'm happy with it.
It was cool watching. I feel like we watched Juno just become more sincere over the course of like the entire first season.
Yeah, very much so.
It was very cool.
And a lot less performative. Where it was, for me, kind of a safe place to perform was in this really performative space. Being somebody who likes to overplan, I could kind of write things that I knew I wanted to say, and then I would roll terribly, and then I'd have to fuck it up. And
Bad stuff.
some bad stuff. But being able to trust the cast here and all of my fellow players here was that kind of art of letting go of that over planning, and that came across in Juno as well, just relaxing a little bit, becoming more sincere, and realizing that doing things only in her own way would hurt other people. Yeah, maybe too many parallels there.
That was good. I'm very excited to see where Juno goes in season 2.
Me too.
All right. Does anyone have any questions for Catherine based on that? No? All right. Alex.
I am so fucking pleased with Pyotr's anti-arc. Like, just the complete lack of any type of character development is something that really tickles the cockles of my heart. It's been fantastic. It's been fantastic to know and just being like, I'm going to play a shitty person. And at the end of 11 episodes and like 27 or 29 or 30 hours of content, being like, wow, that's a shit person. I feel proud and accomplished in a way that I don't know I have before.
It's true. You were presented with options to make Pyotr a better man several times. And
I resisted them at every turn.
Heroically.
Even your dice resisted them.
Yeah,
that was
exactly.
the poetic part.
Totally.
Also, you guys still think I'm rolling dice and I'm not just saying random shit. Let's go.
Well, it's consistency that earns Michelin stars, right? So
There we go.
if we experience change, the quality is just not there.
I'm surprised none of you have noticed a little rat rolling my dice for me on the top of my head.
That actually does explain a lot about Pyotr's morality, though. It's just like that there's literally a rat just like under his toupee, just like fucking pulling on his scalp.
High off its mind on
like-
alcohol fumes and hair coloring.
Pyotr, what am I doing? He's like, I don't know. I'm just picking up grain alcohol and like chugging it.
It's funny you mentioned Pyotr's mortality, though, because in every campaign or one shot of Brian's that I have played, my characters have died, sometimes rapidly. Like I will get 15 minutes into a game. We won't even have met all of the other characters yet, and I will have gone through 3 fucking character sheets. And so the fact that Pyotr is still alive is something that I was frankly unprepared for. Like, I don't know where he's going. I don't know what he's doing. I'm not sure about all this stuff. I've got his backstory. I know what his motivations are. I know why he does the things he does. But the fact that he's lasted this long has just kind of astounded me.
It is. I find myself as like a keeper playing a game with you specifically, because I know this is your thing where you're like, I'm just going to write this stupid shithead and he's going to get killed. I'm like, I am protecting this old man because I'm like, I need to see what you do with it, like, because I feel like if you'll allow me to get mushy for a second, when you are in I see you in those positions where you're like, oh, okay, I have to make like a big character choice right now, and it's always like, I find it very compelling to watch the decisions that you make and kind of like see Piotr just kind of getting like fleshed out, like, where he was just kind of like a bit of a caricature at the beginning, and then kind of eventually I felt like a little bit more sympathetic with Piotr towards the end.
Yeah, it's been an interesting experience having this anger, kind of bitter old coot, and then having to develop him into an angry, bitter old coot with like motivations and a desire for revenge, and plot and like characterization and that kind of stuff.
He's not dead because for some reason his dodge is just so good.
Yeah.
Every
Geriatric
time.
jiu-jitsu,
The old
baby.
man wobble.
Yeah.
The mechanic that you came up with for running was really, really good.
Yeah, no,
It's really, really good.
I sincerely appreciated that, because I was like, man, okay, I guess goodbye, Piotr. It's definitely one of those. But then, you pitched that mechanic. I was like, hell yeah, that gives like everybody puts you on an even field, I guess.
Well, sorry, Catherine, you go.
Just for a second, going back to the Alex dies instantly. But there is something comforting in the fact that you play, like, that you can play a character that can die. Like we talk about heroicism, and I've had Dungeons and Dragons characters that I haven't wanted to die permanently just because I've played them for so many years. But the death in Dungeons and Dragons has to go so far to be absolute. And there's something comforting in that, but there's something comforting in playing Call of Cthulhu and knowing that you can just like write up a new character and kind of pour yourself into something else, and that you can just have fun and not really care about the consequences because it's so fleeting. So knowing that, and having played like Dot for a moment as this amazing moment to like let go, and I'm like, I have no consequences anymore. I'm going to die. It's okay. I was very aware of that with Alex and Piotr all of these episodes, 11 episodes. But I was really impressed and genuinely scared when things would happen where Piotr could have died. That standoff between Glade and Piotr in the ship, he pulled the gun to his head, and I think you may have a recording of me going like, "Do not."
Yeah, no.
Yeah, you did.
Don't you
Fucking
dare. Not like this.
Not like this.
That's a good point. That like there's kind of a transience to Call of Cthulhu characters, just because the system is so unforgiving. But we've all kind of put like, just when Catherine says that like the characters can kind of just die and that's part of it, I want to let you all know Brian made us write like 6-hour characterizations of all this. Like, we're fucking invested through blood, sweat, and tears in these characters. And so there are consequences if they go. Like, Tom now has to spend, 2 working days drawing up a new character.
happily doing that.
And I was ready to do that for a new character, which is why I had several on speed dial. I have kind of grown attached to Piotr in a way I didn't think I would.
Yeah,
I think I have too. I find Piotr maybe one of our most human characters.
Yeah,
because he's just an utterly shit person.
Well,
like in a way that's kind of relatable. Sorry,
Totally.
No. That's exactly it. Like, Piotr is a very relatable character. Like, there's
Is he?
yeah.
Just in the sense. Let's clarify.
Yeah.
The misogyny, no. But, I mean, I think when it comes to having somebody face the things that, like, all of your characters faced and just having, like, a voice that's like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is bullshit and I don't like it. Like, I have a vision of how I want my life to go. And here's the universe throwing all this crazy shit at me. And just being, like, kind of crazy and cantankerous and old about it is, like, I felt like, oh, yeah, like, that's actually very relatable. That's kind of, I feel like if you're in a situation like this, you just be like, no, stop. Like, I just want my life to go on the arc that I wanted it to go.
And and the consistency is really compelling as well. When you watch TV shows or read books and people have these like huge sweeping arcs, you only really have room for one of those in these huge stories that we love to read and we love to watch. But by nature, we can't have a main character here. So our arcs...
Much to Catherine's dismay.
Much to my dismay. Alex always picks up on my facial expressions in the last few episodes when Brian has very pointedly said, well, this is not about Juno. I've been against my knowledge, visibly upset. But those arcs, like, I don't know if any of us have made huge, crazy, sweeping arcs, but we're almost like uncovering things right now. Yeah. And that's maybe why I think Pyotr's consistency is so human, is that we don't have to adjust our thinking so much, where these things can be presented to him and then he's still trying to reach his goal.
Yeah, like you're like watching the seed of like a good person be planted, where it's just like, oh,
in shitty concrete.
But hey, manure. It's that's cultivated soil. But it is kind of interesting, like further to your point, Catherine, of just like watching a character who's like, you can see the lessons, like, hey, maybe like look out for your friends and like, be sincere and don't like engage in charlatanry. But then like watching him kind of like resist those changes, I feel like it's pretty human, right? Like, because change takes time. And so like the arcs of all of the characters, I feel like, we watched everyone, it was like Pyotr, it was like empathy kind of basically in like a broader sense. For Juno, kind of a similar journey, actually. I feel like that whole people exist outside of me and my job is to like help people. And then for Glade, I thought that a lot of it was just like letting people kind of like in and opening up a little bit. And I think like, because it was maybe like a smaller arc for some of the characters, that it felt more believable and that they are like pushing back, because all the characters, they're tabletop characters, so they all have insane amounts of trauma, obviously. So like that takes time. That takes time to heal. And it's not always like a linear process. So it felt very organic to me.
And just to add on to what Catherine was saying about Pyotr's arc being so consistent, and what you said about him being a bit of a caricature at the start. When I pictured Pyotr when this started, I envisioned, like, I'm going to date myself here, those black and white Far Side comic strips that were in the newspaper or like came in calendars?
This is good.
Yeah, this is a deep cut.
I pictured Pyotr as the heel in the Far Side comic.
Totally.
Who is always like that one old dude who's just upset about what's going on, but has no idea that the comedy is happening around him. And then by the end of this campaign, I feel like he's transitioned to the new modern in color Far Side comics. But he's the same character.
Like still angry at whatever the pterodactyls are doing behind him.
Yes, exactly. I find that very endearing. Like, it's a great character.
Yeah.
I agree.
Alrighty. I am legitimately sorry I forgot that I asked an all-cast question and then tried to move on after we got Tom's answer before. That was a brain goof.
So good. I'm not sorry. It was awesome.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Well, anyway, Tom, do you want to ask your all-cast question?
I've got all of mine are Q&As, but mostly just Qs. My question for the cast is, what was your character's greatest regret, if any? If any. It could just be, I don't have any. But from what we've experienced in the session, what was your greatest regret?
Like during the campaign?
Yeah, during the campaign.
I think mine was not getting the book back,
Yeah.
The paladin was just like it was a really big moment for him.
Yeah.
So
dude got stun locked.
He did. He did. That's exactly it. He just got meted. He's just like, fucking like griefers. Damn.
Yeah. It was a tough scene for our paladin.
I might need some more time to think about regrets. Obviously, some of my bad roles that didn't work out for me.
She has a lot.
Thank you.
There are many of those.
Yeah. I don't forget them either. Some of my bad roles, I obviously wish were better. Talking about that over planning, I had like planned some talking points for that speech, and to have it be fumbled so badly was just so discouraging.
Yeah.
It was
so good.
so bad.
Magical.
It was so bad. I was
magical.
disappointed in me as a person during that. But I think some of my regrets as a player and as a cast member was I wish I had been a little bit more willing to jump in and say like yes to things a little bit more. I found myself thinking more than I was just letting myself feel and move. Where by the end of this first season, I feel a lot better at doing that and a lot more comfortable in my like role playing skin. Where I've always been a very strategic role player, and that's not necessarily what I want to be doing here. And I have to make some choices that are less in my mind and more about feeling out my character and being true to her. So I wish there were points that I maybe had been a little bit more true to Juno in the story.
Do you have an example in your mind, or is it just kind of a notion?
There were lots of periods where it was very quiet, and I would kind of speak up. I would speak up if it served me, and would kind of tell Juno's story, but otherwise I didn't spend a lot of time thinking about what was going on around me. But I don't need to concern myself with the plebeians there. I found myself kind of, while other people were talking, just distracted in my own thoughts, and I wish I had paid attention more, because there were things that came up that I probably should have figured out, like the man in the red suit. What the heck was that?
Guys, bringing Santa into the game. This is Santa Claus, baby.
He tried to make it Satan, but typo.
Yeah, typo, and then I just ran with it. You know, it works. I completely understand that. I think that's kind of like the, you know, whenever you're improvising a story, you know, there's always that like feeling of like, okay, well, I got to make sure that the next thing I say is good, but then you're so focusing on thinking of that you forget to like listen to what's happening in the scene, and it's
exactly.
like, yeah, no, 100%. That is like, I feel a very universal experience to like improvising a story. Does anyone else have any big in character or out of character regrets from season 1?
I'm getting a death stare by Catherine.
Yeah.
Any regrets, Leah?
That our characters didn't fuck. Is that what you're looking for? Is that what you're looking for?
Roll for ride!
That is my favorite moment.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
I think secretly Glade hates the man with the scar on his face, because he royally cock blocked her in the first episode.
Was that where that was going? There's no way. There's no way that no.
In fairness, she did not know about scissoring until the most recent.
That's true. Yeah. Shit. Thank God we covered that ground.
Yeah,
Season 2.
holy.
Catherine is learning a lot.
Okay, but I need
We're
to know,
actually
is that
getting sponsored by Planned Parenthood for teaching safe sex.
Speak
Scissor responsibly.
we did have that beautiful BDSM scene that I didn't realize was a BDSM scene.
Oh, yeah.
Until you pointed it out, Alex.
You're going to have to be way more specific.
You're right. Shit. Sorry. Actually, the one where Dahlia was strapping the Reapers down. You're like, this is actually a very like loving description of like BDSM.
Yeah, no, I think you'd be
practice
really
it safely.
good at just explaining those concepts. Just being like, this is what consent means.
Yeah. But so further to that, was there actually like does Glade kind of deep down, if you can admit, like reveal this without there being spoilers, want there to be like more intimacy in her life? She's pretty closed off. She's pretty guarded.
Don't we all want intimacy?
Damn, that's deep.
Can we touch on this for a second?
I mean, she's sitting right beside you, so like...
Touch away.
Touch away. This is something that we talked about just briefly, not while we weren't recording. Brian, are you recording?
Yes, actually. I keep looking back at my computer panicked every few minutes.
But Leah, you mentioned that you wanted Glade to be, I don't know whether it was like bisexual or pansexual or something. And tell me where that broke down.
The penis. it broke down at the penis.
No, it's true. Originally, I don't know. I wanted to, make Glade, something more than just, a lesbian. And
being lesbian is enough, Leah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I did want to explore it more, but I realized very quickly I didn't know how to flirt with men. So,
So you just went back to your strengths.
yes.
You were like, this is all right, but this is way better.
This is like admitting to not knowing how to ride a bicycle or cook rice. And everybody else is like, it's so easy. How do you... the easiest fucking thing in the world.
Well, I think it was Catherine after. No, who was it? Who was it who said after? It's so hard. I mean, it was Brian. He's like, well, the guys, you just gotta like... What'd you say?
I can't remember. It was like probably what I'm thinking right now, which is just being like, hey, do you want to talk about yourself? I feel like that's flirting with dudes. And we're all just like, yes, actually. I would love to do that.
No one's ever asked me
also
that
what it's
Do
like
you have a podcast? It's that easy.
Just asking if she wants to talk about herself is the same way that Juno wants you to flirt with her. Just let her talk about herself. It's perfect.
Okay, so it's practice for flirting with dudes.
It would also work for Piotr.
Maybe I don't care what men have to say then.
That's smart.
Fuck the patriarchy.
I think that's legitimately a good decision.
I was going to clap, and then Catherine almost tripped and
Yeah, she
fucking
did.
like headbutted me to death. So.
It's chaos. It's chaos.
Nearly died on the way to the bathroom.
Yeah, sure. I also don't hate men.
Yes.
You just hate flirting with men.
Press X. Like,
So you hear that, men? Leah doesn't hate you. She just doesn't think you have anything important to say. Okay, sweet. So that's a good episode, guys. I think we can end it there. Let's wrap it. No need for further feedback.
Don't be a dick.
You don't realize what you just asked me. That is so difficult.
Proving my point.
I do. Yeah. So let's put that question to Piotr. Do you have any in character? And yes, fair enough, actually, Leah. But Alex.
So I think in the back of Piotr's mind here is the knowledge that if he had just gotten his dad to unigicity, nobody can know.
No one knows.
No one knows. No one knows. He could have potentially had a sweet-ass professorship and a lecture and tenure and all these things. And he hasn't fully dealt with it yet, but he knows that is becoming less and less of a possibility every day, if it's not already a foregone conclusion. And so I think that's Piotr's regret, and he just hasn't come to terms with it yet.
So I just want to see if I understand this correctly. Piotr's regret is that he didn't sell out more.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
That's phenomenal. Mm-hmm. That is fucking phenomenal.
Phenomenal. It's perfect.
Is there an opposite to an arc? Is there like
I called it an anti-arc.
Yeah.
anti-arc? Yeah.
What it is, it's just a bow. It's like, just like dips under the fucking, under the horizon. Good Lord. That that's fair though. I actually think that's very believable.
I think that is Piotr's regret. My regret in terms of playing this is that Piotr isn't dead yet. And yeah, that's my big regret. I have tried so hard to kill him. But there he is, just trucking along day by day, shuffling around as a stealthy old
Limber.
Very limber. Yeah.
limber. I guess he's kind of limber.
Yeah.
I mean, with that much hip dysplasia,
It's hard not to be.
He walks around like an antelope on two legs.
His knees haven't touched for 7 years.
He's tried.
Yeah, I think that's in terms of like how we have been playing over the past 11 episodes. I think one thing that I regretted near the beginning and that I think I'm getting better at is stopping and listening to what other people have to say, and like letting other arcs play out without necessarily making a shitty joke about it. Because like, yeah, it's been really, really cool to see what has developed when I would just shut the fuck up for a second. And that's been good.
I feel that so deeply. I can feel like I can relate to that so hard.
Leah's mic went up to her mouth so fast, and then she just thought better about it for a second.
Episode 12, Leah hates men.
And that's our title.
But then the subtitle is, and honestly, fair enough.
Deserved.
Fair enough.
Like, well deserved. I'm curious. So, besides getting shot in his body,
Many times.
did Lift have any regrets? Is this too soon? Catherine keeps giving me these too soon looks.
You just word things in very bizarre ways.
Yeah, it's part of my charm or neurodivergence, I guess, depending on who you ask.
That's what you call it, a charm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But so, Tom, did Lift have any regrets as he bled out?
Yeah, actually. So Lift very early on in this show had a moment where he saw Glade changing masks. And
I haven't even
Wait,
listened
what?
to this yet.
Yeah, everyone was that's actually a very good fucking call because people were very intense. They actually asked me to edit them a version, the rest of the cast, where we cut out that private conversation that we had.
Yep.
So yeah, you guys actually don't know that.
No,
I don't know
what
this either.
happened.
Yeah.
None of us know.
Shit.
so Lift actually had full knowledge of Glade's face, had seen it all.
Oh, so universe works out.
Yeah.
But
That's one box that the mask doesn't have to check.
The mask succeeds.
the mask succeeds. But to that point, it was
shit.
Brian was like, "Hey, so how would you act in this?" I'm like, and I thought to myself, well, she wears masks for a reason. She obviously really cares about her privacy. So I'm just not going to talk to her very much. I'm not going to engage her. This isn't for me to know. And it was happenstance. I'm just going to graze by it. So I didn't really talk to Glade very much, like of my own accord, other than when we were getting business done. But my character regret was actually not doing a little therapy session with Juno while we were getting from A to B. Yeah. Because I feel like that would have been a very natural speaking point. And I just never jumped on the opportunity to do that. I felt like everyone else had so much interesting shit going on when we were going from A to B on that ship. And I was just like, it's okay. I can move by it. But I do definitely regret not having one-on-one time with Juno beyond like telling her that the book touched Piotr's junk and that's why it's weird. It's like,
That's why the book's weird.
That's
is because
why the
it
book is weird. Like the book wasn't haunted until it touched Piotr's
No.
old ass wrinkled balls.
No, the book was haunted. They all acknowledge it. They just think that the weirdest thing about it is that it touched Piotr's ball.
yeah, it was stored there for a reason. We took a little break. We talked about it. Lift was not built optimally, and as a character builder, I did that intentionally because of the D&D mentality where I'm like, I don't like to min-max. So I was like, I don't need a lot of dodge. I'll just be good at pickpocketing and throwing shit, and that's my whole guy. And then when it came down to it, I'm like, I'm never going to succeed on a dodge check. Like, it's never happening, and I do regret that as well.
When I started playing Call of Cthulhu coming from D&D, but I had the same mentality. D&D isn't fun unless you have really good, like, what is the word? Help.
Stats?
Yeah, well, actually, kind of the opposite. I think
The opposite, really.
you have good like players who are willing to give themselves handicaps. Is that what you're looking for?
really good handicaps
Yeah.
in that way.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
if
Sorry, D&D isn't fun unless you have handicaps? Or?
it isn't fun. Like, I don't find it fun just being overpowered all the time.
Yeah.
You
Right.
need to have
it
something
needs to be
compelling.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't
so
like
you need to
min-maxing.
you need to give yourself a heart attack if you run too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And coming into Call of Cthulhu, because all of my character creation in Dungeons and Dragons is so based around what handicaps I'm going to give my characters, or like what will hurt them. What did you call them? Like we had to when we were
Scissors.
making our
It could be scissors. So knife theory. It's
Brian
like-
did ask all of us to scissor him, so yes.
But I say that to literally everyone, so none of you are special. No, so knife theory is that what you're referring to? Where it's just like it's a thing that can hurt your character that I as a DM can use to like pull you into the story.
yeah. So we like Dungeons and Dragons isn't that compelling unless you have things that can hurt you. Where when I first started making Call of Cthulhu characters, I was like, I need to give them this like really compelling weakness. And then I very quickly realized that I can't give them weaknesses because the world of Call of Cthulhu will find them for me.
Yeah.
I have had an oversight somewhere. I don't know where it is. Call of Cthulhu will find it for me and exploit it.
Yep.
And I will die.
Yep. I gave myself 90 throw, folks, and I had a dodge of 30. I was
To be
getting
fair,
shot.
though, if we were to assemble a highlight reel of all the times that Lift's throwing shit actually
true.
like came in fucking clutch,
Yeah.
like, especially in like the spacewalk episode, the amount of times that you threw Bibles at drones, fucking incredible.
Spreading
I
the
did
good
not
word
let
of
you throw
God.
my Bible. Thank you.
I threw that Bible.
There was a
Bible
Bible
was
that was
thrown.
thrown. The Bible was thrown for sure.
Did I get you to... No, you didn't throw my
And a
gun.
Not your-
Yeah, no,
not
you
my
gave
gun.
up the Bible in favor of the
the
gun.
gun.
Yes.
It was
And
a,
that's Juno's arc.
I do
You
believe
Southern Baptist.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I think even in the episode, I acknowledged that that's such a good like snapshot of so much of deep South American Christianity.
Yeah.
I was like, we don't need the Bible.
We have
fuck
gun.
that shit. We got gun.
We don't need the
Commentary.
word of God. We have the power of God.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's it for me.
That's
Get ready for new character, gang.
I do
coming.
like the commentary on in terms of like not necessarily needing to write weaknesses into your character. It's definitely something I'll consider on my next character.
Well, if you have a move of 4.5. That's the meta for
That's
Call
true.
of Cthulhu.
And a fucking bomber anthropology skills.
I think Brendan Lee Mulligan actually has a story about when he played a game of Call of Cthulhu where he played a character that was like a big dumb muscle idiot, and it was actually like inadvertently the most min-maxed character because every time that he would have to make his sanity checks, he would always fail his intelligence roll. So because he was too stupid, so he never actually went temporarily insane, and he ended up being like the most like clutch character.
I would actually also like to talk about that. I had 80 int. I didn't succeed on a single fucking int check until it was like, hey, you're going insane. Roll
literally
an int
the only
check.
one you don't want to
Yeah.
succeed on.
Yeah, and that was the only one I did succeed on.
Can we
Unbelievable.
also elf in the room about the sanity system in Call of Cthulhu? Like,
Yeah, for
it's,
sure.
It's bad. It's problematic.
It's not a very good representation of like mental health for sure, right? Like it's bad. It's as you say.
I'm going to say that the sanity system is a worse representation of how mental health works than the magic system is of how magic works, like
From your experience doing magic.
Yeah, the sanity system is more fucking fantasy than the magic system is.
Totally right, because it's obviously it's a gamified system. While I completely agree, it is also one of my favorite aspects of the game because it adds that element of like the players having to protect themselves from like horrors, and so I like that. And you're absolutely right. If you view it as a representation of kind of like a character's mental health, then like for sure it's super messed up.
It's a neat mechanic.
It's a neat mechanic.
Yeah.
I struggle with it. I don't really know fully where I land on it, but I don't disagree. I think that's actually a very valid point. Well, now that Alex has been the fun police, should we? I'm kidding. Leah, you had a question for the cast?
Yeah.
So we'll get Tom to answer it and then we'll move on.
Yeah. Tom.
Yeah.
So for the group, if you could play like any other character, and not necessarily even like us playable characters, but like any of the NPCs that Brian came up with, like who would you want to play as?
That's a good question.
Damn.
I would love to play a character that is so different than Catherine. Like, I'd love to play a character like Glade, but I actually can't get in your headspace. I truly don't know what you're going to do next because I don't know. I don't understand your motivation. I don't understand how you think as a player. And I love that being able to like play beside you and to not know is awesome. Totally. But it's your play style is so different than my play style. And so I'd love to play a character that's so different, but I don't even think I can get there. Where if I were to be given the opportunity to play another character, I'd probably play like, this is such a dumb answer and such an obvious answer, but Almost I'd play Dot. Yeah. Give me Dot back.
I honestly, like, I knew the minute you started that, I was like, I know what you're going to say.
I want Dot back. She's just
let her die.
I did. And that's what I liked about her.
Literally any opportunity to pretend to be a Southern Belle.
Yeah.
Like, any opportunity.
It's only a degree off my actual accent anyway.
Alex, who would you be?
I was going to say sometimes dog, but I just don't think I'd be able to do him justice. You know? Them. It's Z. Whoever sometimes dog is, I don't know if I would be able to do that person justice. And that's my own fault. And like, that would be good. I also was thinking Dahlia's robot. I would like to be that robot.
You're so fast.
It's the opposite of Piotr.
That is the opposite of Piotr.
Exactly.
He's fast robot.
And just like not say anything unless you have to, and also be super fucking overpowered at combat. That'd be nice.
And remember, you're gay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can do that.
Yeah, that's what gives you the speed.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. We determined.
It's the red in the rainbow that makes you go fast.
For sure. That's facts. These are facts, people. This is now a science podcast.
Brian?
That's a really good question. Oh, man. I think this is going to seem like a cop-out. I'm going to come up with an actual answer after, but my instinct is to say that it's almost impossible for me to be able to like pick one of your characters because like Catherine said, you know, you guys embodied them so well and so like unexpectedly to me that it was like you were constantly making choices that surprised me and that I wasn't able to anticipate. And so that's like, I don't know. I don't think I could do any of the characters justice. If I didn't care about that and I was happy to fuck up one of your characters, I think the character that I would enjoy fucking up in my own style would actually probably be Glade. I love that concept. The concept of like the different, like having the different masks and then using them as different filters for like the character's personality.
God, you'd be so good at it.
It would be different. It'd be so different than the way you did it because you're incredible at it. Like Glade is such like a fascinating character to listen to. So I don't think I'd do it as good as you, but I think I would have a lot of fun doing it.
All right, let's move on. And
like I got what I wanted.
It's only fair. It's only fair. Because I love good villains, I would love to play the Scotsman.
Oh, the Scotsman.
I firmly believe that villains are what makes stories good. True. And heroes have to live up to that potential. So playing the Scotsman would be a blast. I love being just an evil dude when I DM D&D. Like, it's so much fun. So doing that would be a blast.
Can I change my answer?
No.
Okay.
Look at Leah. Leah's the captain now.
I'm on the same line as Tom. Like I fucking love being the bad guy.
We know.
R.I.P. Geo.
I would love to be the Scarface man.
Ooh. The Paladin?
Yeah.
Paladin.
It's they're very fun characters to play, and I think they're more fun to play because, you know, I get to play off of you guys. It's like it's pretty neat.
Yeah. Anyways, Alex.
I think, you know, given the whole cosmic horror vibe and the fact that I'm really trying to embrace the idea that things can be scary and they don't need to be funny, I think I would want to do like the real bad guy here, and I would want to play Percy.
The true villain of
Can you imagine if he was the big bad?
I've seen the shit in the Google Drive. Like,
I cut him up I cut him up. He's gone.
Percy, you had a character sheet for him?
No.
Oh.
No.
You
I'm
just had
looking
a
at all of
portrait?
I'm looking at all of my notes from the from each session, and I just have a blank piece of paper, and then I just write crazy shit on it. And the one I pointed out to Leah earlier that says notes/goals for Juno, and then there's only one bullet point, and it's a star, and it just says fire gun lots.
You know what? Mission fucking accomplished.
I love that.
For real.
I was gonna say, actually, how the hell has that not come back to bite you, having to cut up Percy?
I got a good cleaner.
I mean, and to be fair,
I mean, like, mentally.
mentally, I mean, there's been a lot going on. That's true. But
I feel like privilege is the answer. It's just like,
privilege. He was always
He's the help.
He was always disposable. And we were never going to fuck.
We're never going to.
Brian, do you want me to do questions from listeners?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so we have 3 questions from actual, real, honest-to-God listeners.
More than one?
It's from listener.
Be nice.
Yeah.
Be nice.
That Norwegian guy we made fun of.
Yeah. He's like, hey, and he spelled it with a
he's really
J.
angry, actually.
What are you doing?
Okay, so as written, we've got 1. How much does the DM bracket, or whatever Brian's called bracket, know about A, the characters' backstories, and B, where the story is going? Brian.
So, for filling the role of whatever I'm called, I would say that for point A, I know all the backstories, basically. So all the characters... They sent me their backstory, so I know the entire thing, theoretically, in as much as, you know, there's some things that we kind of discover on the fly, like little details that they'll invent that obviously are not written down, but are very fun to kind of discover organically. As far as B, the ending is actually pretty much the only thing that I knew. So I started with that in mind, and then I worked backwards from there. I knew, broadly speaking, kind of where I wanted you guys to end up, and then I knew where I wanted you guys to start, and everything in the middle I had like no idea, and I had no plan for. I just knew that, you know, I could kind of like whatever you guys wanted to do and whatever you're interested in, I could just maybe kind of point you towards that end goal that I had in mind.
You're so talented.
What a visionary.
Accept it.
So brave.
Live
You're so right. I'm incredible. I am like a god? No, I am a god.
No, you're
Yes.
but like one of those little Greek gods, like you're the god of a single town square.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, totally, 100%. And like they're like,
Costco.
what's this god's name? And there's like, he's just around. What do you offer him? It's like, I don't know. What do you got on you?
A whole banana? No, give him like half.
Yeah, like dude, you need your potassium. Like he doesn't need his potassium. He's a god. Yeah. So hopefully that answers the question, random listener.
Amazing. Question number 2, for the players. How do you come up with such creative decisions on what your character is going to do next in any given situation? For the record, we did not pay this person to be this nice. Where do you get that inspiration? Is some of it planned out beforehand? Players, starting with and ending with Tom.
I'm glad we decided to end with me. I feel like I have the most insight to offer on this. Just joking. Decisions. Wow, great question. Years of practice is what I will say. I've touched on this earlier this episode, but I'm a forever DM in D&D. Similar to Brian, who is our wonderful keeper. And I have always had a very easy time kind of falling into characters that I write. So when it came to making decisions as Lift on the fly, it just kind of felt like second nature. And, you know, yes and mentality. You know, just kind of go with it. It's kind of a lame answer, but it's the most honest answer I can think of, where it's just years of practice and an open willingness to engage in whatever ludicrous nonsense is happening at that moment.
Sweet. Leah?
you see the question one more time?
Oh, fuck, give me like
The
a
alcohol's
minute.
flowing.
Yeah. For the players, how do you come up with such creative decisions on what your character is going to do in any given situation? Where do you get that inspiration? Is some of it planned out beforehand? And I'm particularly interested for you, Leah, because I feel like you have one of the most compelling characters. And so, like, how much of this is planned for you and how much of it is off the cuff?
Well, okay. I would say thanks to Brian, who kind of gave us some guidelines at the beginning for creating our characters and backstory, and like really trying to get us to like nail like what our motives are and like what kind of makes us tick. And I was able to like very clearly write what that was for Glade. And so I always kind of can draw back on that when I'm making decisions. Otherwise, fuck, I don't know. I just...
It can be a hard question to answer because it feels so organic in the moment. It's hard to like break it down afterwards of like why you might have made that decision.
I don't know. Leah is not very dramatic in life, and so in this game, I'm trying to be dramatic as possible.
Leah,
we're proud of you, buddy.
Hell yeah.
Brian put it really well that things just happen organically in the moment, but we also did a lot of work to understand our backgrounds and our motivation. I kind of referring back to something I said earlier is I wish I would have been a little bit more present. I find so much of myself, Catherine, is shown through my character. I really admire that about Leah, that you can play such a character like so completely and so intentionally and so organically. But if I, like all of my characters, there's really clear strings back to me.
I mean, same here.
Don't tell me that.
Yeah, no, I don't think the mask is anyone except Leah.
Just as Leah's legal counsel, I would like to say that nothing she says here is admissible in a court of law. This was not under oath and is not an admission of guilt of any alleged crimes.
She's sworn, but that's a different type of swearing.
But it's just such like awareness of the people around you and trust of the people around you to throw them something and for them to kind of either understand where you want to go with it or to take it in their own direction. And there's not a lot of like, this might be very disappointing to hear, but a lot of it is just like, how can I fuck with this the most? and like, what dumb idea did my brain, like my ADHD brain, come up with in this moment? And can I make this work?
Juno fell into a bush. For the comes immediately to mind.
Oh, I wanted that to go so much further, but Brian was already so upset.
I was very mad. I'm not too proud to admit it. Yeah, I was very mad.
Although many people were a fan of that situation.
Excellent.
That Juno had disappeared when I came back out.
Yeah, it's because it's great, and I was wrong, and we know that, and that's fine. What about you, Alex?
For me, so I think a lot of really good and interesting points have been mentioned in terms of people drawing on backstories and having experience in terms of role-playing games or improv. I think that all of those are great and super valid for everybody except me because I'm just a fucking chaotic person. And I just kind of do stuff and I don't really understand
chaotic?
why. Yeah, I would say predictably chaotic.
Yeah, you can trust Alex to be chaotic.
The chaos
for sure.
that we know and love.
100%.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's the nicest
Don't
thing
let it
you've
get to your
ever
fucking
said.
head.
Better the devil you know, right?
I like how Leah's over here being like, yes, Brian, embrace your divinity. And then Alex is like, thank you. And you're like, you can sit the fuck down. All right.
So this is a good outlet for me to channel that chaos and to find a creative outlet for it that doesn't wreak havoc on domestic partners or people I work with.
Oh, Jesus. If you're listening.
We may have to cut that name, but that's okay.
Right. I think I've said it multiple times now.
Can we just have a big like beep?
Yeah. So Alex's partner, if you're listening, we
Jeremiah.
Sorry. We are so,
We're so
So sorry, Jeremiah.
Luigi.
Oh man, I thought that Catherine raised a very interesting point. That one of the people who is teaching me improv has really been like hammering home, which is like when you're in a scene, or if you're part of an improv troupe, or in this case, we're part of like a cast, or we're all playing a game together. Just embracing the reality that you don't have to bring 100% of the show. You have to bring, in this case, like 20%. Mm-hmm. That's it. And that's fine. Like if you come to the table with 20%, everyone else has got you. And so like that's, I guess, where that trust element comes in. And it also can like take the pressure off decisions. So, it's not always like, okay, well shit, like if I don't do something great, then this is going to suck. It's like, I can do something 20% and then, we're going to build it. It's going to turn into something incredible.
Yeah, I can actually really speak to that. And it's a part of actually also my like inspiration is like anytime I have a scene with Catherine, it's like Leah's like, oh, what do I say? What do I do? And then Catherine just keeps talking and talking. And then I'm like, oh, I have time. Okay, this is what I'm going to say. And then she pauses and I'm like, this is it. And I say it. And then she keeps going.
Oh my God. The backhandedness.
Oh my God. Called out. What the hell?
No, I love it. It's not meant to be a diss in any way.
Fatality.
It helps me be creative. Good. I'm glad it helps you. That's just I do really think that our cast here has really amazing chemistry too.
Totally.
That which is hilarious. As you were probably thinking about that example, I was thinking about a similar example where I will Juno will go on these long explanations of things and talk about what she thinks is right and what her plan is, or try to maneuver a direction. And this is very much me, Catherine, strategically trying to role play. Like, this is what I think is best. And you guys take that and you go, nah. No. And I'm like, well, fuck, fine. Okay. But, and that's the trusting of your group too, and your cast, where I do talk a lot. I know that. But it does lend something to, that's my 20%. Juno, my 20% is Juno wants to be 90%.
That makes a lot of sense. So go ahead.
I am begrudgingly admitting this, but the trust in your fellow castmates and the people you're doing this with is super, super comforting. And to just know that I don't have to make this scene, I just need to set it up for somebody else is always really, really good. And I feel that way about everybody in the group, just to be like, I just have to set the ball and somebody else is going to spike it. Probably right back into my face.
You three together, and I'm pointing at Tom and Brian and Alex. You three get on the most ridiculous tangents. And that's, you guys are just spiking the ball to each other.
Sometimes the testosterone train goes choo-choo.
Yeah. We're like, the people need to know about the Thought LLC.
What do I have here? I have all my notes in front of me, and I have a chart that says Thought LLC gains, losses, tables. Losses 100 shares in the Thought LLC.
Catherine's available for bookkeeping tasks.
Yeah.
Everybody.
I actually am.
Yeah, I was going to say. Some people use a podcast.
You're so busy.
Yeah, that's the thing. But hey,
I love taking on new things.
I was going to say, there is the old adage of if you need something done, you should ask a busy person, right? It's wrong, but it's an adage. So here we go.
I'll get it done. I'll get it done before I do anything for myself.
Does anyone else have any questions for the entire cast? Because I have one more.
Oh, sorry, we have one more listener question.
Then never mind. Let's do another
last one I have.
Listener question.
This one, it's a little long. It says, how make so funny?
How make so funny? Very good question. So make so funny by do joke good. Sometimes do joke bad, but a other person make joke good by bad. Sometimes bad be good if person is good at being bad. That's how I would put it.
Interesting. I don't think we need to hear from anybody else on that, actually.
No, that sounded very well.
Well said.
Very well said. Yeah.
I have a question for Brian.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a recycled question. What regrets do you have in life?
Other than the obvious.
Yeah, other than the almost entirety of my adulthood hitherto. I would say that's a really good question. I think there's a lot of times when I'm listening back to the podcast and I should have just let something breathe. A lot of character moments where I came in and offered some commentary, and sometimes it was I was okay, cool. I think I added something to that scene, or I provided a bit of background, and that was great. But then there's a lot of times when I was just I didn't need to be a part of this at all. I should have just sat back. And when I listened to the latest episode 11, for that last kind of scene between Juno and Glade, or the mask, I should say, that was I think the moment I'm the most proud of, because it was the moment where I was just I just knew and followed the instinct of it's time to just listen, and I don't really need to add anything to that scene. As I'm saying that now, I do remember that I went on a huge 10-minute tangent about what Juno understood about the mask. So maybe not the best example I could have picked from, but I think that's it. So that's probably my regret, is just times when I should have just sat down and shut up and let you guys just kind of figure it out.
Cool. I have some more questions, but do you want to jump in?
I have one more question for the all cast.
Okay.
Unless you have questions for all cast, if you want to do that
really
first.
Quickly, I just want to comment on what Brian just said.
Yeah.
Is that whether or not how you feel about that, it's none of this is possible without your creativity and your feedback and your insanely
divergent,
awesome
just sniped from the side.
Yes, he does. Big lift.
Big lift.
Allegedly big lift.
Allegedly big lift.
Yet to be confirmed. Never will be.
Yeah, no, it's true.
But-
That'll be a mystery.
Anyways, to toot your horn.
She says she doesn't know how to flirt with men. What are you talking about?
Tooting his horn.
I want to toot your horn.
That's such a say that, Santa. I'd really like to toot your horn.
I don't know of a better way to flirt with 47-year-old men. They'd be let me toot your horn for a sec here, bud, huh?
Yeah, I just got to toot your horn.
To that note,
Let's just pump the gas on you right there, bud.
This is the answer to why so funny, how so funny, or whatever that question was.
We don't let each other get away with anything.
Nothing.
This is a good point.
Nothing. Anyways, Brian is awesome.
Word.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah,
Why
absolutely.
Brian's so awesome?
He's one of the most creative person I've ever met. So
Absolutely.
For sure.
I don't know, and I certainly didn't before I started participating in this. I didn't know how much work went into mastering and mixing and doing the music and the ads and just getting a podcast together. And it's a
Fucking
tremendous
ads.
amount of work.
The ads,
The ads are amazing.
amazing.
It's just so fucking good.
you take everything else away and you just leave the ads. It's all right.
It's still
Take my-
good.
Take my
we
money.
we could still make a podcast out of that, I'm sure.
I have a PP. I don't know how to handle compliments. This is a lot.
Better get used
You
to
did
it.
it well.
Yeah,
Okay,
yes, you
I-
did
so
okay.
good.
Handled it gracefully.
You ran away to the other room and put your dog in the
Yeah, I
house.
tried to put my dog in jail. Yeah,
Brian wasn't in the room for any of that.
Yeah. Well, it's just because it's the only way emotionally I can handle compliments. Yeah, thank you guys for saying
Do you-
that. I appreciate that.
Do you want to take a session with Juno? Juno, I have some bookings.
Juno is not a good therapist.
No.
Juno is objectively a bad therapist. I'm sorry.
That's because Catherine is not a real therapist. That's fair.
I'm sorry.
I'm offended, but it's fair.
I think that listening to the podcast, there's a lot of times when I was just these characters are incredible and I love hanging out with them. And as I'm editing, realistically, for every episode, I get to hang out with your characters for 6 hours or 7 hours or whatever. But it's just these are incredible characters. They're not good people.
No.
And that's I think what makes them so incredible.
But the characters
and
they made are great.
yeah, exactly. Scathing moral indictment.
So good.
Yeah, no, thank you. That was a good question, and thanks for praising me a whole bunch. I'm gonna make that my ringtone. So here we go. Take that, self-doubt. Does anyone have any other all-cast questions? Because I have one more.
I have one. I don't know if I want this in, but I do have one.
Okay.
Fucking do it.
Do it.
Do it.
So,
I understand why you wanted.
The emotional response that you guys had to Liff dying seemed very real and genuine, and I understand that because like we spent a lot of time with this character. Tom, you spent a lot of time developing this character. Like you guys have all bonded to that character and that kind of stuff. And I just wanted to know kind of if you wanted to comment on where that came from or what that felt like for each of you.
That's a good question.
That is tricky. If anyone else is ready, you guys can go. But
I think I had mentioned this to the group, so obviously we've had lots of chats about that episode and what happened. And I love timely death in a story. You know, I like it a lot. I think I remember referencing, oh my god, my brain's turning to mush. Nathan Fillion, Space Cowboys.
Right.
Firefly.
Oh my gosh,
Alan
thank you.
Tudyk,
Firefly, yes. Alan Tudyk's death, thank you. Where it's like, he's one of like the best characters and so lovable. And it's like, you can imagine without him. But also it's like, oh yes, like so gritty, so like, oh, emotional and like, oh my god. It just makes that story so much better. Totally. And so, not that I love Tom losing his character that he so dearly loved, but I was like, oh fuck yeah. Like we did get a death and it wasn't me.
I did feel like the whole like I'm a leaf on the wind moment there when Liff went down.
Yeah.
And I think that's how
so.
Liff wanted to go down. That's how Tom wanted it to be. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's how I kind of felt.
yeah, I think for me, a lot of it was just being Doug in that moment. And I guess like we never really figured out if Doug and Lift were like a romantic couple. I didn't, in my mind, you know, it ended up being no. Because they were just like, they had such a tender and like beautiful like platonic love between them that I just really loved that. Not that there's anything wrong obviously with like if that had been romantic, but I just loved the idea of the platonic love between the two of them. So for me, the reason I think I got so deep into it was just like, you know, what if it was one of, you know, my friends, or like what if it was like, you know, somebody that I loved deeply and I felt like I truly did owe my life and sanity to, and just like kind of tapping into like the anger at them while also feeling like love and understanding. Like it's like I hate you for leaving me, but I love you for why you did it. And so that brought out the big feels, and that's why you hear my snot noises.
Yeah.
Sorry, just one more comment. Actually, just realizing after you said that, and for like feeling what you did through the eyes of Doug, I realized that because I think I was in the character of the mask, I think it actually did shield my emotions a little bit. And I was very much like, oh, boo-hoo.
And that is like, I think in this exact same way that I was like, I was Doug in that moment, you were the mask in that moment, because that's the mask's job for Glade, right?
Yeah.
And so that's so perfect. To me, that's so like perfect narratively. Oh, I get so fucking nerdily excited by this shit. Yeah, it's good shit.
Nerd
Sorry.
heart. Anyways.
As the other one, so the other snot rocketer of our cast, Catherine, what do you think?
Thank you for calling me out.
Dude, I kept my snot noises in. I cut most of yours out.
We had to stop recording because I couldn't talk. I've lost a lot of friends in the last 5 years. I've lost a lot of friends to a lot of different reasons. And I am a very sensitive person, incredibly sensitive, and I feel emotions very deeply. And that's for a number of reasons. But loss in any way is felt very deeply within me. And there's other things I can go through that would be traumatic to somebody else that I just I can brush off. But loss is very hard. And I know how I have to move through it. a part of how I move through loss is to feel it. And a part of really feeling and keeping those people alive that I have lost is when I think of them, I can't deny myself that feeling. And so it compounds, right? Every year I lose somebody to an untimely death of whatever sort. And a part of that, like, feeling, even though it's a character, is like a tribute and a, like, giving a little bit of that grief some space to grieve, because it never really goes away. So this was an opportunity that my grief saw as, like, okay, like, I've been really patient and grief is super patient. But okay, maybe we just need to, like, we're going to feel this. We're going to feel it big for a moment. And you're going to be okay. And you're just going to, like, remember lots in this moment. But that's really hard to describe to people. And there's no, like, part of grief that is more valid or less valid than any others. Being sad that you are losing a friend that you've kind of made and gotten to know over the last, like, 30 hours of playtime and of understanding. And man, we're working months on this thing and we're thinking about how we're going to interact with these people that we've met that are extensions of ourselves. That is loss. But I think for me, it was compounded by just knowing how my grief likes to take on loss. So we feel things a little bit, and, like, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm going to see shiny rocks on the ground and I'm going to be like, yeah, we're going to pick this up. Right. And there's things that I do in my life that are tributes to the people I've lost. The other really difficult part about this, and this is probably what Alex was talking about when he maybe didn't want to keep this in, is that it gets really heavy. In this case, Juno was somebody who had the ability and the closeness and the capability to maybe change how things went down. And she, for whatever reason, wasn't able to, didn't see what was going on, and didn't intervene. That hits deep, right? That hits deep. So I, Catherine, have felt like I was in that space many times in the last 5-10 years. So it hit a little close to home, and like I do with many things, I take it pretty personally. But yeah, a lot of those tears weren't just for lift, I guess. Yeah.
That's fair. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Tom?
Yeah. I really didn't want Liv to die. But it's kind of like what Catherine and we've all been talking about throughout this time. These characters that we've been a part of for months at this point are very real to all of us. And I, when dealing with grief, go into crisis management mode rather than actually healthily processing emotions. Simply because I've always had to. I wasn't, one of the team snot rockets. I let us down. I wasn't moving the ship forward. I was trying to be very composed, because when I made the decision to do what I did, I had already come to terms with the idea that could be the end. And when it was the end, it took like a full day for me to realize that Lift was gone. And it does kind of feel like a part of you is gone, in some small way. You put so much of your time and your thought and really a group's effort into building someone into something. And to have that person, that identity, that spirit over, whatever platform you were listening to, kind of just up and leave. It leaves that same kind of hole. At least it did for me after a day or so. knowing that, Lift is just kind of gone. Because I had a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun being Lift.
He was the funnest person I've ever met.
Yeah, honestly. For real.
It was a lot of fun. And it hurts for me to lose that. Because, we talked about it earlier. I love being villains. I love being a very complex, in an amoral way type of a character. So being someone fun and filled with levity and being on the end of a punchline or somewhere where I could raise the scenario rather than bring it down is a very rare scenario for me. So losing that just kind of hurt. And it still does.
I have a question for you then, Tom.
Yeah.
If Lift were to have survived and Lift would have had to live his life and continue on and work through this realization that he lost his team and he was essentially responsible for that, would you not have already and also lost that levity and that part of Lift that you really loved?
I think no. I like to think no. Lift in our podcast had very little time to come to terms with what he experienced. But no, I don't think it would have changed him. I think it would have changed the way he values things. Changed the way that he sees things. But it's tough, this is a hypothetical scenario that a character that was a little piece of me now no longer gets to live out. But I think Lift as a character, regardless of loss, would always kind of be stable. Because he had to be. Because he enjoyed to be that presence, that big lift to other people.
No one actually calls
No one ever actually called him that. But that's just the point, right?
What did we say about sitting with the emotion?
I'm sorry. I just,
No, but that's just the thing, right? Brian hit the nail on the head. Lift would always be that big Lift person just so everyone else could, get some weight off their shoulders
Big
by
Lift
saying,
energy.
you BLE. BLE,
yeah.
I don't think that would ever change. I think he would just carry his decisions with the weight of his team with him from that point on.
I did think that it was interesting when we did the basically extended flashback sequence, right? When you guys entered Lift's memories there and Glade's memories. Going into that scene, I had no idea how you were going to play it. I thought, I was like, oh man, he might actually, maybe Lieutenant Lift is a totally different person to, Lift, right? I just think that the fact that you were able to kind of keep a through line with Lift of Lieutenant LOO Tenant Lift and current Lift
Lieutenant,
if you will. I thought that was very cool.
Yeah.
We fought a war over this, guys. People died between 1812 and 1814 for your right to say lieutenant.
And we won.
Yes, so say lieutenant.
The queen is dead. Move on.
The king is mostly alive.
He's being tended to by a warlock in his private chamber.
I don't think Charles has ever been alive in a clinical sense. I think he's just this kind of collection of cells. The doctors are they just throw poor people at him.
Every rat in the royal palace stuffed into a skin suit.
He is the Rat King.
And they just throw poor people in the room with him, and then they have a butler come and clean up the bones afterwards.
He is
so
an
first off,
angel?
your treason is all noted.
This is where Alex comes out as
Left
a
4 Dead, the Rat King.
monarchist.
Yeah.
Anyway, we were having this
Yes.
deep emotional.
For me, it always was Lift as a character wouldn't change much. Just because you don't remember your past doesn't mean your fundamental character traits would also change. Like you can block out traumatic experiences, but also not lose sight of who you are as a person. Like they're two separate entities.
Have you tried putting a mask on?
I mean,
yeah. I mean, there's something to be said for neurodivergence in that case, but like if you've just had memory, like a portion of time plucked from your brain, your personality wouldn't change too much.
Well, that's actually like a thing that I've been like I was thinking about a lot with like the setting when I was coming up with the idea of the Reapers having their memories removed. It's like those neural pathways are still like lodged in the brain, right? So it's just like, you know, like as exactly what you said, and that's one of the reasons that Reapers start with their phobia, right? It's just because like, yeah, you don't have to remember the trauma as you say, or even like not the trauma, but you don't have to remember things to have that like pathway carved into your mind.
Yeah.
Have you ever explained on the podcast that Reapers have?
Start with a phobia? Yep, I did actually. It was just now. It was just this moment.
I was gonna say,
This is literally maybe the first time. $5.
Like phobia and mania.
$5 on Drive-Thru RPG, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Lift was a kleptomaniac.
Okay, I do have another couple of all-cast questions. This one I'm actually pretty excited about. What is your character's most badass moment? Let's start with Tom, and then we can end with Tom as well, actually. Again, just doing Alex's joke now.
Okay. This is actually really tough for me. I feel like Lift did a couple of very badass things. The first badass moment that comes to mind is when we get jumped by the paladin around the oxygen tanks, where Pyotr discovers a long since abandoned civilization with rich history and cultural significance.
Exactly.
And knowing that, and this just had to do with action economy understanding, but in game it was a very like cool moment where it's like, okay, I can't dodge, I can't do this, because if we have a chance, it has to be through this random course of action. I'm just going to stand my ground and hope for the best. But I do genuinely believe that does get trumped by the idea that after Glade stabs Geo in the back, Lift goes, okay, we roll the dice. I'm gonna get rid of this guy who could kill Glade and myself, because now it's definitely going to shit, and then put myself in front of Glade to bear the brunt of this responsibility. I think even though it ultimately ended in his demise, it was the single most badass thing that Lift ever did, other than throwing a Bible at a drone.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Bible at drone's pretty good, but heroic sacrifice does trump Bible at drone.
Yeah.
You actually winged that drone, and now it's a Unitarian, by the way.
I can live with that.
Hell yeah. Whoever's next. If somebody's ready, you can just go, but otherwise, Leah.
When is Glade not a badass?
Yeah. It's like, that actually maybe, what's Glade's only non-badass moment?
And there were some drive checks. In episode 10, you also had so many low rolls.
Yeah.
I think the episode 1 drive check stand
Yeah.
as the
It's
biggest
true, I
piece
was
of-
doing
Yeah.
donuts.
Yeah.
I was actually not expecting you to make those drive checks. Like, I fully had that, like, encounter planned out. Like, yeah, obviously, you know, she's going to fail some checks, and then, like, that'll be fine. And then you just kept getting, like, extreme successes. And I was like,
I'm good at my
Jesus,
job.
apparently. Fucking Christ, yeah.
What's a badass? What did I really like? I would say one of Glade's most badass moments was actually calming Juno down and just like tossing her through space safely. And like,
Follow us on Instagram if you haven't experienced that moment.
Yeah,
on our podcast
exactly.
yet.
It has been immortalized.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely like a big
Yes,
space
mommy moment.
Yeah, yes, mommy.
Yeah.
Space mommy.
Space
Space
mommy.
mommy.
Space mommy moment for sure. Catherine, what was Juno's most badass moment?
I don't care what all of you say. I don't care what all of you think. I shot that man.
I knew it. I fucking knew it. I was like, it's gonna
Yep.
be shot the paladin.
Yeah.
I
fucking knew
shot
it.
the paladin, and it fucking worked, and I got him, and
look, our characters say one thing, but like I feel like as people, we're like, that was fucking awesome.
I think it
was
worked
badass.
in the same way that the mask stabbing Geo worked, which is that Lift got shot.
Both had the exact same effect. Yeah.
Is Piotr the only character that didn't get lift shot?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
I feel like I have to
Actually,
listen to
yes.
this episode again because I don't remember my actions directly getting lift shot.
Well,
Catherine just put her mic down and then just took a big old glug of whiskey.
Yeah, I think that was probably one of.
It was very cool.
I had
And
lots of
was
opportunities
phenomenal.
to have badass moments, but was shut down in either ways by the dice or in other ways. I really wish that hypnosis over the phone thing worked.
There was no way it was gonna.
I know.
Real. This is
but I
like
wanted
Piotr
it.
being like, I want to become an oxygen tank. It's
yeah.
I'm sorry. That fucking worked.
It did
No,
work. You
you-
want to become an oxygen?
No, he stealth. He rolled stealth.
Roll the stealth.
I
rolled
rolled
stealth.
disguise. I said I was disguising myself.
No, you said you were disguising yourself. You're like, oh, I want to hide behind the oxygen tanks. I said, okay, that's stealth. I am not over this. It's been months, and I wake up in the middle of the night, and I have to walk around the apartment breaking pencils in my hand just to like fucking try to process it.
There's a fine delineation between badass and ass bad.
But it is a fine line. It's a fine line.
Piotr walks that line every day, baby.
Fucking day. Woo. I do actually agree, though. I think that the shot on the paladin, like that,
Total badass
it
moment.
changed the shape of that combat encounter.
Oh, for sure.
Because like when I put all those guys in front of you, it's like in Call of Cthulhu, if you put a bunch of gun wielding enemies in front of your players, you're like,
You have to run.
it's just like, fuck, somebody's gonna die. Basically,
Yeah.
if you guys choose to stand and fight, somebody's gonna die. But then you guys were able to pull it through. And fortunately, like, Lift ending up with that one hit point, succeeding on his con check to like stay conscious. That was like, it was pretty wild. It was pretty wild.
Also, Junie shooting that guy in the face. That was sick. I stayed up and we managed to somehow Scooby-Doo the fuck out of there. But even if it all went south, the fact that like this demigod of a person got shot in the face by this recently drunk apostate person.
I think also the
So
fact
funny.
that like
Hell
Glade had wrestled you to the ground to make sure this didn't happen.
Yeah.
And then you
secret
like
bullets.
secretly had bullets to
Yeah.
reload and did it anyways. It's like, oh my god,
The
Yeah.
secret bullets was pretty fucking
so
good.
good.
Yeah. that was
I am
badass.
very proud of all of that. You should be.
Piotr.
We've already discussed mine. We all know what it is. The
porn folders?
anthropology is
Oh yeah.
the dump stat in Call of Cthulhu. Let's be honest here.
And yeah, I mean, when I just felt so defeated when you rolled anthropology.
And I'm so pleased to hear that.
Yeah, I know. I understand. I feel like I'm here to nurture you, Alex. And if it's with my death, let my happiness be the whale fall that feeds you, the little bottom feeding crustacean that you are.
Any shred of self-respect I gained from the one compliment I got from Leah earlier in this episode is gone now.
Oh shit! Okay, I don't actually think you're a bottom feeding crustacean.
You just play one on the podcast.
I just think you play one in the podcast.
fair.
Yeah. But to be fair, I actually think that I did end up coming up with something like that's no spoilers, but might end up coming up a bit later. And I will give you a hint. It ties into the AI side of things. So
I
see.
promise you I will do my absolute best to ruin that too.
yeah, that's not surprising to me even a little bit. Oh lordy, lordy, lordy! All right, I have one more quick question for everybody, and it's if you had to vote. Wait, is everybody gone? Everybody gone? Yeah.
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 Yeah, I think so.
All right.
Tom, you gone, right?
Yeah, no.
Okay, we're
Okay,
good.
well then we're
We're
good.
fine,
Yeah, we're
we're
good.
fine,
Cut
we're
it, print
fine.
it. All right. If you had to vote one character off the show, who would it be?
Like of us or any character?
Let's actually make it. Let's open up the floor. Let's make it any character.
Scotsman. Fuck him. Scotsman scares me so much.
That makes me happy.
Are we speaking as us personally, or are we speaking as our characters here?
Let's do characters. Let's do characters because
Okay, then Scotsman.
yeah, I was gonna say yeah. Glade might still have.
Once
the same-
again,
And
Leah
actually,
is
maybe
her
Piotr.
character.
Yeah, let's do it as the character. So we'll say yeah. So Glade votes Scotsman.
/ Piotr.
Yeah, I was actually that's actually a little bit of a
Absolutely.
Who would Piotr vote off?
Piotr's going to vote the dean because there's always
Oh, yeah.
one step closer to the top, baby.
Hell yeah.
What was his name? What was your
his
colleague's name?
Well, he died.
I know, but
Lift? Jesus.
no.
Fucking the grad student.
Yeah.
Oh, Ian,
Ian, the grad student.
Ian's already
He was
dead.
so
I'm gonna need
annoying.
to vote Ian off.
Yeah, no,
Ian's gone.
Ian's corpse is, we're just going to say, still rotting on the Usagicity Library campus.
And no one has noticed.
No one's noticed, yeah. It's not a good school, guys. It's not a good
Not
school.
even the janitor who cleaned the library immediately after the gunfight.
No, he noticed, but he was just like... okay, so the dean. What about Juno? Who's Juno voting off?
I mean, the paladin. It would have to be the paladin. He's grossly twisting her religion, and I mean, she honestly grossly twisted her religion. But
He's a dark mirror. That's was his purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And if she doesn't have to deal with him or see him or know that he exists, or has to live in a world where his influence is prevalent, then that's what she would want to get rid of.
All right, fuck the paladin. I'm on board.
I would shoot him again if given the opportunity.
That may arise.
That may arise.
Shoot gun lots. That's my goal.
Shoot gun lots.
Catherine's actual belly tattoo, just like in the big arc.
Oh my god.
I'm trying to figure out how to fit those onto dusters.
Hell yeah. All right, Tom, as Lift. Who, if Lift were he still with us, who would he vote off?
Man.
He would vote off men. Yeah,
Men.
fuck men.
Just men.
This is the anti-man podcast.
Men.
Leah's nodding so hard, I'm concerned about her cervical spine.
It's sorry.
Alex lies.
This is really tough. As Lift, this is tough. If Lift had an opportunity to vote someone off of the show,
And was from Saskatchewan.
Hey, you leave Gord alone.
Fucking Gord is a national fucking treasure.
He is
bud.
a hero, thank you.
Yeah, that hero. This is a tough one. It would have to be Major Ziggy.
Interesting. Okay.
Explain.
It would have to be Major Ziggy. The way Lift sees it, from the limited interactions he's had and from the recent trauma he's revisited, Major Ziggy is an entity that has complete or somewhat complete knowledge of the problems in the galaxy and was fully aware that people under his power were using them for the exact same reasons, but just flavored a different way. And that, like, wanton abuse of power, knowing it's the wrong thing to do, is sickening. Like, the Navy are like, yeah, we need to get people around. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's terrible. You've definitely got to stop doing this. But then this all-knowing entity was like, hey, that's terrible. We should look into that. It's like, okay, I hate that. And moreover, your willingness to just kind of like, hey, how could we use this to undermine the people who also use it and yet try to claim some moral high ground? It's like, no, absolutely not.
I will admit, as a keeper, I wasn't quite anticipating the intense reaction that Lift had to Major Ziggy, but like the minute you did it, I was like surprised in the moment, and then it instantly made sense to me because it was just like, yeah, of course, and that all those things you said like totally make sense. I am sad that you're not going to get more of a chance to have, kind of Major Ziggy and Lift interact, but
yeah,
I mean, I'm
but
sure
again,
you guys will see
it
Major Ziggy
ended in a
again.
beautiful way.
Yeah.
So
Maybe Glade can fulfill some of those wishes.
I would love that. Me, Tom, would love that.
I do like that we're like, Tom, who don't you like? And Tom's like, God.
Brian.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I legitimately I was like, he's gonna say Tala. He's gonna say Tala. He's gonna say Tala.
No, I was gonna say Geo, but I'm like, fuck it, I got him.
Yeah, no, you got Geo. Yeah,
got
Geo
him.
is man. Yeah, hell yeah. Okay, well let's open it up a little bit. I have questions. I have individual questions for each of you. But let's not start with me because I've proven to be irresponsible with this power. And if somebody else has a question in the chamber for another cast member, fucking fire away.
I do think all of our questions are going to be like, hi, how dare you? Who do you think you are?
Yeah, it's an excellent question.
I think I have a question for, actually, one last question for whoever wants to answer it.
Totally.
So it could be for the cast. What did you wish worked that didn't? Do you have one check that still haunts you?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Yep.
If you guys need to think a little bit more, I am very good at talking while other people are thinking.
It's true.
That's what makes Juno a shitty therapist.
We were going to jump on Catherine for being a shitty therapist, and she came out with the best therapist question right after.
Yeah, it's actually,
she
fair
took
enough.
it very personally.
Yeah, she's like, fuck you guys, I'm incredible. I think Catherine would actually make a pretty fucking passable therapist. I just don't think that.
All I'm looking for is passable. All I'm looking for is passable. I will be able to
need to be covered by your insurance, baby. That's it.
I just need to be able to hypnotize people over the phone. That's what I wanted to work that didn't. I mean the speech was devastating, but man, I wanted to hypnotize him over the phone.
Hypnotize your mechanic who you tried to get to smuggle you out of the station. You're like, you're a mechanic. You'd smuggle. Like, it's like such a A to Z logic. I was just like, why? Why does this guy?
Logic is like, you're a grad student. You know where I can get mushrooms, right?
To be fair,
I don't understand why this is such
that's a tighter
leap.
correlation than mechanic and smuggler.
Yeah.
You know what? You're right.
Yeah, that's actually that's pretty A to B. I do feel like it is, and it 100% made sense to me in character because Juno is like, you're poor. Poor people do crime.
No,
Can you do
you work
crime
at
for me?
It's not only because he's poor. He works in a place where he's
Poor.
around criminal activity, which I imagine, and you can't. I mean, I know I lead such a glamorous and perfect looking life,
Yeah,
but
she's lost in it. Somebody hit the reset button.
Yeah, everybody.
so
Throw a beer can at her quick.
Boo.
Boo. Literally what we brought you on
Devastating.
here for. Literally what you were here for.
I hate
Anyway,
you.
regrets. It's random.
Not regrets, but what check? Like
you
what
wish you
check
had.
haunts you?
Yeah, what check haunts you?
I kind of have two, but the one of them I guess worked out storyline wise was in the first firefight that Juno just decided to shoot.
You don't have to keep calling me out. I'm proud of it.
Kind of does.
Keep moving on.
Kind of does.
Move on.
Because you're proud of it. I think is why we have to keep calling you out.
That Glade failed her sanity or succeeded in her intelligence.
Right.
'Cause-
yeah, totally.
I'm not gonna lie, Glade experiencing that vision of her past that you so cleverly concocted, which I'm sure most people don't quite understand yet, of this little boy eating her father's intestines. Fucking brilliant. I loved it so much. And so I'm so glad that actually happened. But
I'm glad.
I definitely played Glade more unhinged because of it. You know?
It made sense.
Because you fucking see that and
Why?
it's like
Can't imagine.
Yeah. One of the things that I respect the most about you, and one of the reasons that I was so excited, when you were keen to join, is that you don't need a mechanic to tell you if your character's fucked up. So it's just maybe Glade only lost I don't know, however many fucking sanity points she lost. But you were like, no, this is changing the trajectory of my character. It's you didn't need a mechanic to tell you that. You were just you felt that in your soul. And I think that's dope.
Thank you.
Yeah, you praised me. I'm going to praise you now, motherfucker. How the fuck do you like it? Or are you normal? Is it fine? I don't know.
Surprisingly normal. But yeah, so when everyone's like, Glade's so mean and scary, it's well, I wonder why.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Not that they would know. But yeah, so that was kind of but also it worked out that happened to Glade. But honestly, I really wish that the mask had better roles with the Scarface Paladin, because I had some fun ideas if he were to like be chill with me.
I was curious. I was very curious where I was going to go. I actually, like, from my end of things too, you know, I mean, I feel like with a lot of these tabletop games, it can kind of create like kind of an adversarial feeling between like the players and the game master. And that's mostly Alex's fault. I'm kidding.
I leaned up to the mic before Brian said that.
It's just like a corner of my eye. Realistically, like, I am actually on your guys' side, however much it might seem that I am not sometimes. So I wanted that for you as well, because I didn't know where it was going, and that's not how I saw it going. And I was like very excited, but unfortunately,
and like I wasn't sure either.
Story.
But like the moment you were on board with like almost like Psycho Killer being kind of like understanding the other like Psycho Killer, I was like, oh,
totally.
cool, okay. But then
that was it.
Fuck my roll.
Yeah, my God, the dice tell their own story, because I was like,
true.
I was interested, like similar types of animals, right? And I was just
I liked that a lot. Yeah.
But I don't know. Well, you know, we'll see. Season 2.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I don't know if Piotr has a role he regrets, because every time they succeeded, he was just pleasantly surprised.
And you never looked at your character sheet once, so you have no idea.
I succeeded.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You don't play with the brain. You play with the gut. You know?
It's true. I agree with that, actually.
I was disappointed, and I think Piotr was disappointed that we didn't get onto Juno's super swanky, super nice, like really fucking fast ship. That would have been nice.
Brian had let me hypnotize this guy over the phone, then we would have been on the fucking swanky ship. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Full circle, baby. Full circle.
Was ready for like real scotch and massage chairs and
beautiful.
a steam room.
The Ave Maria had it all for you.
There was a robot that just sits beside your bed while you sleep and just whispers affirmations into your ear.
Imagine.
That's the Akarita privilege.
Yeah. That's why Juno's so insufferable.
But for Piotr, wouldn't that be kind of fucked up though? Like to be in like a ship that his mom kind of designed.
Yeah, and I don't know if we've revealed that on the podcast.
We have. Yeah.
I think it was in one of the commercials. Yeah.
Nay Akarita.
Yeah. So Piotr's mom is one of the designers of the Akarita ships.
Akarita. Shout out Carlin.
Carlin, amazing. So that would have been kind of fucked up, but it's like, for Piotr, it would have been him returning to the privilege that he thinks he's entitled to.
Right, totally.
And would it have fucked him up? Yeah. Would he have loved every second of it? Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's fair. Y'all are good role players. Mm-hmm. I like it.
I did have another thing in mind, but now that Alex has said it, I really fucking wanted an Akarita.
Yeah, I remember.
The commercial worked.
I really wanted one.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a spaceship you want me to sell for you,
Liv really deeply wanted an
Tom and I
Akarita.
were listening to that commercial fucking rock hard.
Yeah. Are you kidding me?
Can I be perfectly honest? When I wrote that commercial, the music, everything, I was just like, this is porn. I'm making porn. That's what a car commercial is.
And it works.
And a car commercial is porn. That's 100% it.
So other than not getting an Akarita, which, brutal.
Agreed.
Everyone wants an Akarita.
I just imagine the Mask doing a car commercial.
It's like, do you like blood?
Are you unconcerned about safety features?
Have you ever thought that the radioactive reactor had too many levels of shielding?
Would you rather just garrote wire around your neck instead of a seatbelt?
And it's like full bikini, but the mask on.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Do you
Still
like
porn.
an airtight cabin where no one can hear you scream? That'd be pretty sweet. But
Should make something. First commercial of season 2.
There we go. Season 2. Hell yeah.
The one role that Lift regrets is when that Reaper was chasing us and Glade was being a fucking awesome driver, and I lit him successfully on fire.
Yeah.
And
I shot him in the face, and then you lit him on fire.
Yeah, lit him on fire, and he was slowly burning to death, and I was like, I want to put him out of his
There's
misery.
a pattern here.
Yeah.
Yeah, like setting people on fire.
Yeah, incendiary grenades are badass.
Yeah.
On an objective examination, was Lift the bad guy?
Yeah. We're all like, Lift, oh man, such a good guy, like, died heroically. It's like, he set 2 people on fire.
Yes.
One of whom was actively trying to help him.
Until Glade tried to kill him.
Admitted, so his crime was being mad someone tried to kill him.
Correct.
Which,
Someone who I cared about.
unforgivable.
And I didn't give a fuck about Geo. Fuck that guy. Yeah, I regret. Again, I have a 90 in throw.
Yeah.
I had to throw a knife at a guy like 20 feet behind us. And
That was it.
missed.
You were throwing it. I feel like it was even further because you were throwing a knife from a moving vehicle at like a target that was far away, and it was just a tough.
It was a tough throw, but I look back on that and it's like I regret not just killing that guy.
Yeah.
Which is a horrible thing to say, but it's like I didn't want him to slowly die a burning death.
Yeah, slowly burned to death, totally.
No, absolutely not. I regret that.
That makes sense.
And the Akarita, but
And the Akarita. That was my favorite one. The one where she did. She's like from Minnesota. Like, Akarita. Yeah. All right. Well, let's do individual questions for individuals. Unless you don't want to. I don't know. I'm not your boss. I kind of am.
You kind of are our boss.
I kind of am, but I'm kind of not. But yeah, let's do individual questions for individuals. If somebody has one in the chamber, as I said 10 minutes ago, let's fucking fire away. I have one. Does no one else have one? Okay, fucking Christ.
I had one, but I
just
can't
didn't want to
remember
go
it.
first. I didn't want to go first, but it starts and ends with Tom. I didn't want to go first.
Just fucking fulfill your role.
Okay, I'll go first.
Yep.
You're clearly the elder brother of this group. Just fucking do it. Okay.
Juno. This is for Juno, Catherine. At what point did your moral problems as Juno actually convert into character change? Like, what was that moment where you're like, I am not a good person, and I've realized that I'm actually going to try and affect change in resolution of that inequality and how I see myself?
It's a great question.
The most memorable moment is in the tunnels when that like vision of a crying and screaming woman was in front of us, and all she was asking for was help. That and going to like the church in the locks and seeing how disheveled it was and how people inside of it were being like bullied into doing things that were not necessarily in the spirit of the church. She realized that she was perpetuating something that was no longer doing its duty. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a religious person. I would say I'm spiritual, but it's just like a
spiritual if it's from the spiritual reason.
Exactly.
Otherwise, it's just sparkling agnosticism. Yeah, I'm a sparkling agnostic.
But I do think it's important. I'll give you a second.
Yeah, sorry,
Thank
fuck
you.
your beliefs for a second, Catherine. Just
We respect you and love you as a human being,
I
but
know.
sparkling
Hey,
agnostic is now in the world, and we just need to.
That's awesome.
Good.
Anyway,
I'm
sorry.
so entertained I have to pee.
Do we want to pause there? Do you want to keep going?
Keep going. I'm not having anything.
You dropped the sparkling agnostic bomb.
That's fair. All right.
Just walked off.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Anyways, you're spiritual.
But I do think it's important to not totally abandon belief systems and structure and these places where people find a lot of like safety and beauty. And it can like there's history of them being destructive, but it's also really empowering and beautiful to a lot of people. So it's important to me to make sure that it's not like the religion that is the flaw here. It's the people who take advantage of it. Totally. And Juno, in those moments, realized that she was taking advantage and her teachings from Tenjin and as a young person who came from this family like kind of cared, but mostly they were rich and just cared about themselves. It was a place that like understood her and she could understand and accepted her. And she also, like her parents, took advantage of the wealth of it. Totally. So those are the moments. Brian has his hand up.
Yes, I was trying to tee you up for that. Fun fact, there was a character that I put in the podcast because I have my own history with religion that is, you know, for me it was kind of a traumatic experience as it can tend to be for some people. But I do agree with Catherine in that for some people it can be a very like safe place and a place that kind of, you know, maybe provides a lot of structure and love to their life. So I made a point of putting a character in who was Christian and who I thought was like a good guy. But he then you set him on fire. It was the Reaper from that episode that you didn't. No, I'm just kidding. So, you know, I did try, and because like I think it's fair. Like in a lot of
the Reaper.
No, it wasn't the Reaper. No, it was Geo. Geo was actually.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the guy in the church that helped Juno.
That guy was.
You hinted at him not being a true believer.
He I think I'm trying to figure out how much I want to say here because I don't want to like just spell it out for you, but I think. Sorry, that was kind of sad. That's not how I meant it.
Interpretation of what you said?
Please do.
He believed in community. Like, he was there, and he was there for other people. And this was a method for him to have a socially acceptable reason to be kind to other people. And it was contained in a structure, and there were resources dedicated to it. And it was morally ambiguous, like everything else is morally ambiguous. But there was something there that he could dedicate himself to.
100%. That was exactly his whole deal. Is he was just like, I need to help. There's a community who needs help. And there's no one else willing to do it, but there is this resource that I can pick up if I just say the right words and make the right noises. And that was kind of it. That was kind of like the idea behind that character. And that was based on some, social workers I've met who have to like dance with the devil in order to like try to like help people. But I think that like, it was important to me to try to like put a character in that was like, you can be religious and, you know, not have a scar in your face and go around executing personal assistance. Like there's a middle ground.
And then we lit him on fire.
And then you lit him on fire, which, you know, you had your reasons for doing it, and that's fine. That's valid. Reasons. Maybe I'll put another one in season 2. We don't know. Maybe that was just the one. Maybe you get one. You get one, Christians.
Maybe I can convert Glade.
She would become the paladin immediately. That would exactly be it. Like it would just be like Moadib, like immediate jihad. You know what I mean? Moadib.
I finally saw Dune.
Oh, what'd you think?
It was good.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Just the fucking brevity. It's incredible.
It's incredible.
It's exactly what it needed to be, and it was nothing else. And I'm fucking on board. Hell yeah. Okay. Thank you, Juno. Thank you for that. And thank you, Tom, for the question. Do we have another question from another cast member? I also have one teed up if no one else has anything. Go for it.
I mean, it's keeping the spotlight on Juno.
Do it. That's her favorite thing.
It's
her birthday.
This is the only opportunity she has to mess up a speech.
Does Catherine like the spotlight?
Catherine likes to talk but doesn't like the spotlight.
Podcasting is pretty much perfect for Catherine.
Yeah. Fuck, especially this podcast.
When did Juno start to care about Glade?
Oh man, okay. Actually, this is something that's amazing in my notes, and I go through them.
It's just a picture of scissors.
It's just a picture of scissors.
Green journal about you. She drew like a diagram of rock, paper, scissors, but just like aggressively circled.
Just the scissors. I'm glad you guys are so fucking funny.
There are like several different diagrams, actually. She's trying to figure out how the scissors fit together.
There's algebra.
Okay. So I grew up with this pair of scissors. This is a true story. I grew up with this pair of scissors.
You grew up with a pair of scissors.
You don't understand that this is
You're
something
correct.
that's burned into my memory. I grew up with this pair of scissors that if you like extended it too far, it would come like the two people. Okay.
You stretched it too far, it would come.
The two pieces would come apart.
Ryan is doing a victory lap around his apartment.
And I'm crying again. And I don't know why this was such an important part of my childhood, but every time I see this pair of scissors, I have this like emotional
Why do you keep going back to it?
Take off.
Why do you keep going back to this well?
Please kill me. Okay.
I'm sorry. Sorry, your childhood pair of scissors.
Nothing. Never mind.
Anyways, about your childhood or whatever. So anyways, scissoring.
I'm so sorry. Are you... Sorry, there's a childhood pair of scissors that would come when you got close to them. I might have missed certain key details of your story.
Father listens to this.
Not what I was trying to say.
I know. I'm being a dink.
I just. Okay, I have my notes.
We can cut the father part. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
we'll cut that.
She said it.
Well.
We can. It's up. We'll set.
Growing up. No, we are not going to talk about it anymore. Okay. Moving on. Can you repeat the question?
And that's all for the Stars Ultra Rate.
Okay, the question. When did Juno start caring about Glade? Okay, so as a player, there was always like a conflict in working closely with Leah because I am so afraid Leah is gonna kill me. I am only one time it was intentional. One time, but all of the other times it just happened. It was luck. So yeah, there was like an actual fear, and I think in those last two episodes, you can see the caution, or you can like hear the caution in my moves. But I have so many notes here, and I remember, I have notes from like episode 8 or 9, and like, okay, what are we doing? Like, does Glade actually care about Juno, and does Juno actually care about Glade? And from episode 10, like, oh, are we not dating? Are we dating? Like, I have it written down here.
Sorry, continue. I don't want to interrupt you, but I have a bookmark. I'm going to bookmark.
Brian and I jump in again, being like, let me explain this to you as a straight white dude.
Scissoring, if you like break it down fundamentally.
Brian.
Sorry.
Just put it away. I love you. I do think that face like grabbing scene in when Juno realized that Glade was going to take care of her, although it felt very transactional.
Which face grabbing? Because I've actually grabbed your face many times.
It's true.
If you've noticed.
Oh,
it's kind of a meme. Take a shot every time Glade grabs Juno's face.
So first, we're gonna be drunk.
I was gonna say this is the first fan art we all want to see, but like,
anyway, when we were outside of the station, outside of Gate City and Spacewalk. Oh, yeah. But really, that moment that Brian commented on of Juno trying to connect with Glade while on the ship, while on the Violet King Henry, and Juno kind of like, okay, well, you don't want to hear this anyway, so I'm just gonna walk away. And no, stay. Like, let's talk. From Glade, that was like, okay,
There's
I thought we were having a good time.
Yeah, I thought we were having a good time. Oh really?
Yeah, that moment was so cute.
And it was something that I really wanted to, like, as a person, really wanted to kind of like wanted to work through. I see somebody who needs like help, whether or not they know they need it, and Juno would be the same way. Yeah, intrinsically it would be the same way. So I think that was the moment. And then after that, I was like flung into this. Okay, are we actually romantic? Is this something that we're going to do? Where is this going to go? What are we going to do here?
And that brings me to my bookmark, which it's such a church girl thing to do.
Oh,
to be like,
shut up.
We were hanging out. We're on a spaceship. That means, is that mean we're dating?
It just brings me to the 1Q84. Have you ever read it?
No.
He talks about there's this like amazing scene where she's walking on the interstate and then she goes down the stairwell and all these like papers flutter, and she's like, she remembers the one time she had like a lesbian encounter because she was just in a hotel room with a schoolmate. It's a Japanese book. Yeah, he's never met a woman.
Does anyone have a nosebleed?
I'm sure several people. I'm sure he did while writing it. Anyway, that always is like the
Sounded anime.
Yeah, like the quintessential, like, oh, well, we were two women and we were present. Obviously lesbian encounter.
Obviously.
Which is something I intentionally didn't want to have happen. But I actually think the dynamic between Glade and Juno ended up working really well.
Agreed.
Yeah. I mean, a queer heart wants queer stuff to happen, but I like that this is, I don't know.
And God bless, you know? Like,
Yeah.
God bless. I feel like this is very realistic. The relationship between Juno and Glade. It's not just like, oh, we're in love all of a sudden, or like, I don't know.
I think
Or there's no connection.
that goes back. That really connects really very well with our point earlier about character arcs and how, it feels realistic because it doesn't feel forced. I think that's one of the things that I really like listening back is that none of it, like the romance and stuff like that, doesn't like feel forced. It feels like, these are people in like a traumatic situation.
And like there's obvious interest.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's the what's the word? Like
Scissoring. I'm sorry. I know. I regret it immediately, but I have a condition.
I was going to come in and be like, this should be like a real sci-fi romance where one of you is the other's sister for the first 2/3.
I was going to say, like, what makes it...
The mask, I'm stuck.
In real life, they say all it takes is a penny to derail a train. For us, it's just scissoring.
Just scissors. So little.
anyways, I was saying that there is, I think, genuine interest, but I don't think whether they have the experience or the like mental or emotional capacity to actually take the step forward to make it a relationship, it isn't there.
Yeah.
But we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know what will happen.
We also talked about like the Lift and Doug thing. There's something like really beautiful about platonic love too. I think particularly between like strong male figures, that like very vulnerable care and platonic friendship is really important. But I did have a bit of a laugh about listening back and about like the quintessential like 24-hour or like 18-hour like lesbian date where we kind of like the ship kind of being on the spaceship on the Violet King Henry was like our opportunity, and we just spent like all of our time together.
Like 14-day date, yeah.
The 14-day date.
U-hauled into a ship.
Yeah, who put this U-Haul in the goddamn cargo hold?
It wasn't an intentional choice or an intentional like linchpin, and I actually fought the shipping of Juno and Glade a lot, but I couldn't not lean into it. because it was so natural and it was so like all signs were pointing to this, and I didn't want to make it. Catherine didn't want to kind of like make it a thing, and then all signs just kept pointing to yes, and I couldn't fight it just because I wanted to push a narrative or push against a narrative that was happening naturally.
Totally.
And I'm really happy I didn't. I'm actually much happier with where our story is now than what I thought I wanted.
So I guess that kind of goes back to like what you were saying, where you were like earlier, you were saying one of your regrets was that you hadn't just said yes and like jumped into stuff, and you were like busy like kind of analyzing it. But it sounds like that's actually something that you've accomplished like over the course of the season, because you were able to kind of let go and be like, cool, this is actually like where the story's going and it feels good, and that's kind of like what I want to happen. So good job.
Yeah, and it's fun to look through my notes and be like, this isn't where I want to go with this, and like, but is this an option?
No. I will not fuck Glade.
Two, we
Shoot
would
gun lots. Point two.
We were never going to
We were
fuck.
never going to fuck.
How to gain skill in ride.
That is my proudest moment. That is Catherine's proudest moment.
It's probably like
That took me by surprise.
That's probably a podium moment for season one.
for sure.
Like it's gold, silver, or bronze. Like it's up there for sure.
I make very, very few sexual jokes
We
in
know.
my life.
Yeah.
I am highly repressed.
I hope you know that Leah holds back because of that.
Thank you. I appreciate
Brian
it
does
so
not.
much.
Brian
does not.
Brian does not change his behavior even a little bit.
I know.
Out of respect, you know?
It would be dishonest.
Like a little dishonesty.
Like, Brian, you can lie to me a bit. You stand to lie.
Okay.
I have a character question unless somebody else has something, and that is for Alex. So Alex. Catherine, like, just immediately was like put her hands up in a what the fuck gesture before Tom had done anything, looked over at Tom knowing he would do it, like jump on it, and he did. And he fucking did.
Yeah.
The thought trust. The thought LLC, it lives.
It's called trust because you know.
Leah held back and is regretting it now. Like, I should have jumped on that.
I maintain Leah's on my side of like, God fucking damn it.
But only barely.
It's only a matter of
I hate
time.
men.
You keep saying that like we don't.
Yeah, like, to be fair. Brushing her teeth every morning, like, look at this fucking asshole. Who do you think he is?
With these pearly
Do you
whites.
still need to ask your question about?
Yeah, what is-
Yeah, right. Shit. I
Have
guess
we
Question for
answered it
Alex.
already?
that's what we're doing. Okay, so
Just
All right.
stop.
all right. Piotr started out in my mind as a self-admitted charlatan, but he seemed to almost buy into his own shit by the end there. That failed power roll after Major Ziggy offered to spread your manuscript far and wide was huge from a character development standpoint. What do you think was going through Piotr's mind at that exact moment?
When you've been lying to yourself for 65 or 67 years, depending on who's asking, you continue lying to yourself. Piotr is fundamentally a terrible person. He has been lying to himself and everybody else for the vast majority of his life. He has taken every single advantage that he has been granted because of his station, and he has squandered it out of laziness or stupidity. And there's not a lot that can redeem that. So for Piotr to continue to live a lie is natural, and it's what happens, and it's the easy thing.
That totally makes sense. So this is basically like an opportunity to validate all of the mistakes that Piotr has made, that he knows he's made, that was handed to him on a silver platter. Is that kind of like what was going through there?
Yeah, he was given so many opportunities, and he wasted them. And he was handed a very difficult opportunity to admit his mistakes and to atone for them. And he did not have the strength of character to do so, according to the die I stole from
the dice.
you right before that.
I rigged it. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, that's very interesting to me, and I think that's a very good way of like kind of reading a die result into like it's all about, all we're doing is like justifying essentially what the dice tell us. So I was just very curious, like kind of what your process was for that.
Yeah, like I want to be clear, Piotr's not a satisfying character. Piotr is not the type of character you would see in a Marvel movie or any other type of movie. Piotr's a shitty dude. There's not a lot that can justify what he does. I don't try to justify what he does. Nobody else should try to justify what he does. If anybody fucking, like, what's that movie with the serial killer where dudes think he's cool?
American Psycho?
Yeah, if anybody tries to American Psycho Piotr, like, they're incorrect. They're wrong. He's a shit person. He's a shit character. And he may die shitty.
I understand that. But I must say, speaking as what Tom so eloquently described me as a neurodivergent thinker earlier, I can fix him.
Can you?
I'm going to fucking try.
Okay. Are you going to do it by licking his face?
Yes, 100%.
Sometimes dog is going to come back somehow and just turn Piotr.
If we're 4 seasons from now and Piotr is raising like an adopted family with sometimes dog, I will be thrilled.
This is
like
the arc I want.
Like
This
a
is what I
furry
want.
family on like a space station in the middle of nowhere. Oh my God, I would read that novel. I would read that fucking cover to cover. Incredible. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Alex. Does someone else have a character question? Or should I continue talking about furries?
Furries.
Okay, sweet. So,
Tough one.
I'm not knowledgeable enough on this subject, really.
I have a question for Leah.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Ooh.
Don't say that to her character. Fuck.
Gladly. When can you remember a moment where you had to significantly deviate from the decisions that you expected Glade would make based on like roles, or because saying this because even when you failed roles, you fought really hard with the book on the space station or on the ship on the Violet King Henry when you failed that
A power roll.
roll, and you would fight Brian on these things because of so corely in your character. You knew that it was, again, like you knew that it was more than just a mechanic. Was there a time where you relaxed that or you kind of gave that up that you can think of? And no is a perfectly fine answer too.
Just say no.
It's perfectly fine.
Yeah. Let's fuck up the improv. Just say no. Just like straight up kill the scene. Hell
No, but.
yeah. Yeah, yay. No anuses.
Who killed the scene, Brian?
It's always me. It's always me.
Okay, wait. Sorry. So the question is,
Was
what?
Was there a time that you had to abandon like the spirit of Glade for a role or for like in the moment, and you felt like you had to make a move that wasn't in like the spirit of Glade but ended up working out really well, almost like a risky move?
I'm not risky. I feel like there was multiple times where I tried to portray Glade as someone kind of tough and wanted to like get things done, but then just got fucking like obliterated by insanity checks.
Okay, that's fair.
Like in the first firefight on the ship confronting Piotr, it's like there was multiple times where like she would have possibly could have flourished and like could have been like, you know, strong arm and like been savvy, like gotten the answers that she was looking for, but then like her mind just obliterated her and became really weak.
Do you like how that went narratively, or do you wish that she was able to be that strong arm?
I think narratively it was great because I think ultimately it led to the third mask being able to come out because she finally met that breaking point where she would need that. And yeah, and I think she had said it at some point, I think in that episode on the ship when you would talk to her, or like I think when she was like accusing Piotr, that like all of a sudden, when she's around you guys, like, all this fucking shit keeps happening to her.
Yeah.
And her mind keeps getting fucked with.
Yeah, totally.
Like, with the book, with the Jesuit, and then whatever happened after, like, she felt like she was being watched, which now we know why, from, like, after everyone was watching her, accusing Piotr. And it was like, what the fuck is going on all of a sudden? Like, usually she's pretty in control since being a Reaper, and it's all just gone to shit.
It is interesting watching a character like Glade, who is just obviously like hyper competent and like very, very like focused, very driven, as you say, such a like go getter and do stuff, and just be put into a situation where all of the strengths that they have are like almost invalidated. So yeah, it was interesting. It was fun to watch. Alex has his hand up.
See how it feels? See how it feels? It's not great.
No, because I don't have to pee. So I have a question about Glade's blade. Is this an Assassin's Creed original, like under the wrist blade, or is it Assassin's Creed Valhalla over the wrist blade, or is it to the side, or does it just like shoot up straight through her middle finger,
or is it
like a
cyberpunk
Wolverine situation?
Yeah.
Does she have to cut off her middle finger?
Glade, I feel like, would not lose her middle finger. That's valuable to her. She needs to use that.
Yeah.
Actually, it's between her legs, and it's 10 inches longer than yours.
Ooh.
Okay, so it's
9
11 inches.
inches.
We're like, I have a small dick. Fuck.
It's from the wrist.
But like underside of the wrist, over the wrist.
Oh yeah, sorry, under the wrist.
Under the wrist. Okay,
I guess
so it's like
I guess that wasn't
like
properly
Spider-Man.
described.
it's like what?
It's okay.
Spider-Man?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, exactly.
Nice.
It's like
yeah.
Spider-Man if that teenager just killed people instead. Yeah. Cool.
Exactly like
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
under
that
the
way.
wrist blade. Yeah.
Okay, so it's like kind of hidden. She can keep it like under a sleeve or something like that.
Well, it's like it's a nano blade, so it comes out.
We're all just ready to jump on jokes with
like,
Nano
yes.
Blade.
This is nano,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Nano
Everything's
everything.
nano.
Fuck
Come on,
yeah.
nano mask, nano blade.
Hell
Well, we
yeah.
know how it
Nano
goes.
Reagan. Nano Irish.
It's like from the first episode, we learned that she got a cybernetic enhancement. And so it's like not visible at all. And if anyone had noticed, she always makes a con check whenever she brings it out.
I
So
actually.
does it like tear through flesh then when it comes out, or
Yeah.
Ooh.
badass?
I
You
have
don't
like.
have to hurt yourself.
Well, the thing is, I was thinking about it, and the reason that I came up with that mechanic because I was like, okay, if you put a blade under your skin, like your skin is probably the most important part of your immune system, right? If you just had like basically kind of a channel that allowed germs to get in, it'd be so prone to infection that it would be impractical. So like the reason that the cybernetic enhancement was so expensive was not because like a retractable knife in like 2903, not difficult, but figuring out how to like put the skin together so that it was able to, like, the knife was able to come out. It would still hurt you, but the idea was that it had to be constructed in such a way that it would also re-knit to prevent like constant infection, and that's in my mind. Like that's why the cybernetic enhancement was so expensive.
Interesting.
Yeah. And noticed the knife only came out with a certain mask.
Right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's hidden.
So when we were talking about dating profiles, does each mask have a different dating profile?
Oh, totally.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, but like the masks is only on like FetLife. Like it's not. It's never mind.
What's FetLife?
Don't worry about it. It's just on like.
It's the thing that Brian and I moderate. You know.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. Anyway, we got to make the money back from the podcast somehow, guys.
Anyways.
Suffice it to say, this is kind of like when we were talking about fanfic, and then Catherine was about to reveal that she knew exactly where fanfic came from, but I feel like we shared it. We shared a look across the table, and because we like all of us were like, "How out are we as nerds?" You know?
So out that my coworkers bought me a series of smut books for Christmas.
Nice.
Is that nerd or is that
nerd?
like you're
Are
going
they
on
good?
30, dear?
Yeah.
It was for multiple reasons. But they at least knew that it would be something I would read.
Should we do
Okay, my theory is
I was gonna say we should do a fairy porn spin-off of The Stars Aren't All Right.
That'd be good.
Sorry,
Fairy
porn?
No, like as in like fae. Sorry, I understand.
Ugh.
I understand, but like the fae, because that's what Tom is referring to.
Court of Roses and Thorns.
Yeah.
Is that what your coworkers bought you?
It was
were
actually just a bunch of
several.
hardcore.
Yeah, it was just actually hard porn.
It's just hardcore porn.
Guys, I don't know what's happening anymore, so Leah gets my vote on whatever is happening. I trust her the most.
That's smart. Yeah, it's the most trustworthy of all.
I don't know how to dig myself out of this hole.
You didn't put yourself in this one. This was all us.
Okay.
We did this to
But
you.
you're in the hole.
I don't want to be in the hole. Hey, long live smut. It's all good. Okay.
Smut is fine. Women can read it for free in public.
What? Hold on.
I'm sorry.
It's a fact.
Why for free?
Why for free? I get the in public
Where do
part.
you get your smut for free?
That makes sense. Yeah. What is it?
I can tell you where to get your smut for free.
Yeah.
Gay
Before
All right.
we jump to assumptions.
To be fair, Tom has been validated. This is on us. We shouldn't have questioned him because he is the first and last response to every question. So, fair enough.
Email us at thestarsaren'tallright@gmail.com.
Where do you get your smut?
Yeah,
Find out where you can get your gay smut for free.
Send us your AI-generated smut.
Oh God.
By the way, do we actually have a Gmail?
It's that address.
Is it actually?
We've been
address?
giving
That was a joke.
We've been giving that address out so fucking much.
all the time.
You know what? We don't sex shame, so send us your worst internet.
And Catherine will read it.
Unless it's illegal.
Yeah, as long as it's free, we're not paying for it.
Yeah, it's all going to
Okay,
be.
sorry. To set out the priorities here, send us your worst as long as it's free. Bracket around all that. Caps lock bold unless it's illegal.
Can we?
Yeah, we can 100% move on from this.
We got the last hour.
We're moving on.
Okay. Does anyone else have a specific question for another person? All right. Next one then. I'll do it. Leah.
Yes.
I didn't finish writing this question. I'm going to read you what I have.
take it.
I'm going to read you what I have so far.
This is a disaster.
This is kind of, yeah. The only other time that we saw the mask in the driver's seat was at the very beginning of the podcast as Glade was running from the Reapers. That's all I wrote. I didn't finish the question, but I guess so.
Was there another time that she wanted to use it?
Yeah, I do feel like there was a moment in the tunnels.
No, so when she was flying the ship, she was in the driver's mask, wasn't she?
Sorry, when I said this, the mask was in the driver's seat. I
Seat of
realized
the car.
Yeah, and I understand the way I worded it.
Yeah.
I didn't finish the question. It's very clear I didn't think this one through. But I think that what I meant was
Look,
that...
let me women-splain this so it's actually
please do.
clear and cohesive.
For
The love of God.
Please,
Yeah,
dear
please,
Lord,
for the fuck's sake.
help us.
God.
Glade first used her mask in the first episode when she had killed the gate tech in the car.
Peter. I creatively named him.
R.I.P.
Yes.
All right, Peter.
All right, Peter.
The mask was not seen
Eh.
until the second last episode. Yeah, episode 10.
Yep.
Were there times that the mask almost came out before then? Possibly. Was maybe the question.
Yeah, for sure.
There were multiple hints throughout the season that Glade thought about it. One was in the cooler.
Totally. With the real meat in play.
Yes. If Lift didn't have his crazy side,
Yeah, if they didn't cut his fucking tongue out. Jesus.
Glade.
R.I.P. Good guy.
Yeah, R.I.P.
All around
Yeah.
favorite
Oh, yeah.
character.
To be fair, we're correct in saying still the most heroic of the characters.
Yes.
It's just more of a statement on the rest of the cast.
Yeah.
But yeah, Glade did noticeably feel around or look. I can't remember what I had done, but
Yeah, totally. You were you
getting
made it,
ready
made a point. Yeah.
to murder this person using the mask. There was another time when she was very pissed off at Juno when she called her a bitch.
Oh.
Oh, I do remember that.
In the pharmacy.
In the pharmacy or the Australian makeshift hospital.
The veterinary clinic?
Yeah, the vet's
Yeah,
off.
the vet.
It was a vet.
The vet clinic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, interesting. I didn't realize that was almost a mask moment. That's a surprise to me.
And oh fuck, there was another one, and I just lost it.
Was it in the cargo hold with Piotr?
No.
Damn.
Yeah, that's cool because that was not Piotr's understanding of the situation, but you were coming at it with like a completely different MO. That's good.
Once again, your fucking dodge skills ruined everything in that moment.
That was awesome. That was awesome.
When you move with the rickety
I was not
frame.
expecting that. But
Glade's not used to doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu against somebody with that aggressive hip dysplasia.
fuck, there was one more time. I can't remember it now. I had it in my head and I forgot. But yes, there were a couple times where she hinted at feeling, around her waist for her leather satchel and feeling a bit like, oh fuck.
That's interesting.
It didn't.
You will always wonder like how it would have changed the trajectory of the season because like the mask coming out ended up being such a significant narrative moment for us. And so you always wonder like, yeah, man, like I wonder who would have survived, would like the mask have killed someone else before we were able to get to, as Leah would call it, Jizzenshaw Station.
Jizzixstan, actually.
Jizzixstan, sorry.
So crap.
Oh, no, amazing. Thank you for answering the question that I didn't finish writing. Does anyone else have another question for individual characters or people?
I have one for
Everybody? Yeah.
kind of everybody.
Yeah, fuck
but it's kind of a later question.
Do you want to bookmark it?
Let's bookmark it.
Okay. Yeah. Tight. We can do that. Then I will have one for you. Catherine. So Juno has learned a lot of uncomfortable truths over the past 3 weeks. When she left to prepare for her mentor's arrival, what do you think was going through her mind about her faith, no pun intended, in light of these revelations? If you can reveal that without it being spoilery.
As you talk about her, like at the very, very end of episode 11.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely.
So what is she like? How is she preparing?
Yeah, like I guess kind of what's Juno's perspective towards her faith in the Church of His Light at this point?
Her perspective towards the church and towards Tenjin are very different. The church is a set of guidelines and somebody that she wants to prove herself to as a god. But Tenjin is he's tangible, right? Tenjin determines whether or not she is right in her actions. God, like you can manipulate and twist the word and the image and the expectation of a god, but I can't twist the expectation or the feelings or approval of my master, right?
Oh, I guess the mask and Tenjin are similar.
So those are very different questions. Juno will always have faith. The faith that has faltered is her own in herself and her ability to apply it to a system that she grew up that served her and make that system serve other people, again, intrinsically. That extrinsic, that money part of it, that fame part of it isn't what it's about. And so she's finding her roots back to that. I imagine that she will be very embarrassed. She is very embarrassed that Tenjin probably knows about her botched speech. She's made it to this situation where she's caught up in everything. And while that isn't necessarily a bad thing, her actions before this would be terribly embarrassing to her. Tenjin was always a bit of a gritty guy. He won't mind the grit. He'll mind the pageantry.
Totally. That's interesting. I really appreciate the distinction of having your faith as kind of like a concept in like an institution versus like your responsibility to an individual. And I am very interested to see where that goes in season 2.
Me too.
Yeah, totally. Does anyone else have any questions for any of other cast members? I have another for Tom. So, R.I.P. Lift, Forever in Our Dreams. Both times...
Forever part of the ship.
forever part of the ship.
Oh,
Indeed.
God.
Facts.
Until there's like a spring
Until-
deep clean.
Yeah, until there's a deep clean, yeah.
Until Doug sees the mask and just like,
Yeah.
ew,
What's this?
gross.
Doug's whole deal, yeah. Oh, man. Oh, my God. That's layers of fucked up for Doug, right? Like, holy
Yep.
shit.
We don't have to tell him.
I mean, at least that's
gonna clean it
some
anyways.
season. These are some season 2 thoughts we're having right here. Both times that Lift has been shot in season 1, it's been as a direct result of someone else's actions.
Catherine's.
The second time wasn't my fault.
That's true. I would say the second time wasn't your fault. First time was 100% your fault.
I still don't remember this. But yes, continue your question.
What do you think drove Lift to put himself so squarely between danger and the people that he traveled with? So the second time, I guess to clarify that question, the second time to me makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Because like you'd understood that the Sarge was part of your team and the only surviving member. So I completely understand the emotions there. But the first time, I guess, is where I'm curious because that's what established the pattern, really.
Yeah, so the first time for me is I think I don't recall if this is correct, but I think in that moment I remember asking the clarifying question, where is Doug and where is Piotr? Yeah. And you're like, they're behind you. I was like, great,
Yeah,
then I'm not gonna dodge. And reason being is like Doug is very clearly Lift's only friend. And the closest thing to that is the friendship he had with Piotr.
Right.
So if he could remotely put himself between them and incoming bullets, it's just a no-brainer mentality for him.
For sure.
So I don't think his motivations really changed. It's just when it came to later in the story when it was Sarge versus Geo and Tala, it was just amplified, like this is all he has. This is all he's wanted for so long, is to know what happened to his friends and to find out that he has a real tangible friend right there. He couldn't live with the idea of watching them die too.
Totally.
So he'd rather watch everything just go dark. And that's just kind of who Lift is.
That makes a lot of sense to me. That's awesome. Thank you for that.
That hurts.
Yeah.
That
For
hurts
real.
deep.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that cuts deep. Catherine, you had a question for all of us that you thought would work well later.
A part of my notes, which is kind of devastating. I know that when Brian, you started this podcast, you said that it would be about 6 episodes for the first season. And we proved to be very difficult and throw a lot of curveballs your way and maybe a little bit slow at opening doors or moving more than 10 feet.
I just want to say there was an insufficient number of sound effects for doors.
I agree.
We can release a remastered version with more sound effects for doors.
Maybe that'll go on the Patreon, or maybe that's just a season 2 thing. Maybe season 2 is just all door sound effects.
All door sound effects. Can you make an ad for somebody who creates door sound effects?
Yes. Absolutely, I can.
I'll make a real ad and post it on Kijiji and shit.
Does your Honda Civic not sound like a V8?
Actually, Glade opened a door, so I'm satisfied.
So we're happy.
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
That went up instead
That was the
of
character arc.
push or pull.
I always thought that we would have had more time. Every time an episode ended, there was something comforting in us having more time. And I wrote a note down specifically for today during the recording of episode 11, saying that once we got to episode 11, I was absolutely sure we still had one more episode left. While you thought that we would only record 6 episodes for season 1 or prologue, was there any way that you had planned it to go any further than 11 or 10, 11 or 12?
That's a fair question. It's tricky to answer without giving too much away.
That's fair.
But I will say that I didn't originally intend to end season 1 on Gizenshaw Station. Gizenshaw Station was meant to be the jump-off point for where I intended to end season 1. But we just found that moment, and it was too perfect.
So you thought we would have been even further than we are now in 6 episodes?
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
I am so
Is it
sorry.
because it took us 5 episodes to get off of the first station?
Dude,
Is that
it's
why?
because it took you 3 episodes to get together. It was insane.
yeah.
It was like, I get it. And it was great, honestly. Like, it was all like fantastic, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I feel like I can reach out to Tom here. As a forever DM and you have a split party, it's just a stressful fucking endeavor.
It's a nightmare.
It's a fucking nightmare. But then when you're also thinking like, well, I have to get these people together because I can't keep doing this because I will physically die. You know, it's a whole thing. But there was, I don't know, I feel like there was a point, and I do actually think maybe it was in episode 2 or 3 where I realized absolutely not. This is not going to be a 6-episode endeavor. It's going to be much longer. And that was fine, you know, because it was just like I was enjoying it. None of it felt, you know, like, oh, okay, well, it's going slower than I thought, but I don't think it's going slower than it should.
Right.
You know, like it's going at the pace it needs to. And the error was not in what you guys were doing or what we were as a group were doing and like taking our time with it. The error was just in my initial, you know, fucking estimate of how long it would take us to complete this particular adventure. So yes, I did have a plan for ending at another spot, but also it would have been very interesting to see if we had have continued. I think there was a point, and we had a lot of conversations in episode 11 where we'd kind of like paused and we were like, okay, I think this is actually the end of season 1, and we all kind of like agreed on it. And there was a moment where I was like, okay, I feel like it's either we end here or we're doing another 4 episodes. Right? Like it wasn't going to be a simple like, okay, 1 more episode and then it's done. It felt like it was going to be, you know, just like it was either ended here or we had to like do a whole other arc, you know, post the death of Lift, right? So
I think it was good.
Yeah.
I think having a prologue was good.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
And there are things that I think we'll take with us of Lift. My only other note here from, well, we were recording episode 11 to talk about today is just to say that there's really nobody else that I would have rather like played out this scenario in this podcast with. You all have committed to your characters in the story and like this process really had like a really amazing level and have made this an experience that is beyond what I could have imagined. So thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. But like if Matt Mercer was standing right there, right fucking there, you would give me a firm handshake and be like, thank you very much. Out you go.
Honestly, I don't have the same rapport as I do with you guys with Matt Mercer.
Well, have you met Matt Mercer?
Yeah,
Well,
he's
you're
a
fucking
very
right.
charismatic individual.
He has very nice hair.
He does have very nice hair. He has exceptionally
He has
nice
much
hair.
nicer hair than me or Brian. Tom? Hard competition there.
Tom's got pretty nice hair.
I could give him a run for his money.
Yeah, Tom's got pretty nice hair.
You know what? I have a bone to pick here.
About hair?
No.
So
About
do Brian and I out of our hair.
You should both be bald. How dare you?
it's not a bad look. But anyway.
Whoa. Okay.
When
Like a potato.
That is such a niche joke, and no one will ever know.
That was so good.
Try your best, fam. You're not going to figure it out.
Leah, that was amazing.
It is a deep cut that we might reveal someday.
No, we will never reveal
You're on
this.
our Patreon for 100.
No, we will never reveal
It's
that.
$100 a month. You subscribe for 6 months.
It is
and
a
we'll-
level of
we'll mail
personal
you a
you will
letter.
never get.
For $200, we'll tell you the sexy
This is
parrot
like
joke.
real life stuff for me, guys. You have to not.
No, okay.
Don't-
For $200, we will tell you the sexy.
Yeah, we will. It's unreasonably
One of us will
attractive
show up as a sexy parrot. You can fuck us. Like, Like that's part of it.
To be honest, I don't always like these people, but I'm thankful to have done this.
Catherine, sorry, you're trying to have emotions and feelings.
Yeah.
By all means, continue.
It's no secret that I consume a lot of actual play podcasts. I listen to them constantly. So some of my favorite DMs or keepers or game masters talk about doing horror and how horror is really, really hard. In particular, actually, Jordan Peele talks about how horror and comedy are very similar in the ways of their timing.
Totally.
Right?
Makes sense to me.
So as we were talking about timing between comedy and horror, one of the things that is incredibly hard to achieve is proper horror in tabletop games. And particularly because you get a group of people together and friends together, and when you get a large group of friends together, the last thing you want to do is be like, so let me traumatize you. Right?
Unless you're Brian, I guess.
To my point. But you want to laugh and you want to make jokes and you want to be like, you want levity. Leah keeps bringing her mic up to her mouth of like, are you sure about that? Maybe let's not lump us all into one group.
Leah's got the 95 in self-restraint.
Totally. Fortunately. But that's something that you do really well. And we've had moments where we've been able to sit in it really well. I would say in sessions that have not been recorded, we've been better at sitting in it, which maybe tells us a little bit about ourselves while we record. But knowing what these famous game masters have to say, if Matt Mercer or Brendan Lee Mulligan or any of the McElroys were standing in front of me today, I would probably still, like, for a Call of Cthulhu like horror here, nobody can scare the shit out of me like you do. It's pretty good, Brian.
Yeah.
Well, the 96 on that one, eh, Leah?
The one person I think I could maybe hold a candle to you in horror would maybe be a Bria.
Yeah. No, totally. I 100% agree with that. Burrow's End was insane.
You do scare the shit out of us.
But you do
in
scare
all
the
honesty.
shit out of us.
Without trying to call out Matt Mercer and Brendan Lee Mulligan on our first season of the podcast.
Our one Norwegian guy is like, yeah, but the first letter is a J.
Speak of them.
You know what? If they want to fight us, if they think we're calling them out, come get us.
Okay, you're cut off. That's enough whiskey for you, Catherine.
Can we
I still have a
stop
little bit
calling
left.
out the best game masters of all time?
To our kindly Norwegian listener, she did not mean that. Do not fly here and beat
I don't
us
think
up.
she was trying to fight Sven. I think she was trying to fight Matt Mercer.
I'll
or
fight-
Brendan
Oh
Lee
my
Mulligan.
God.
But have you
so
seen
much
Brendan
worse.
Lee Mulligan's like kind of swole.
Yeah, he started working
He does.
out.
No, he
dude's-
does.
Okay, so real question, does Brendan Lee Mulligan do gear? Like, is he on test?
How can
And
you
it's
tell?
huge.
What's the number one sign that someone is doing steroids in the gym?
Incredible world building.
The needles.
No. These are both incredible guesses. But there's only one thing you need to know someone is on steroids in the gym.
They're bigger than you.
They're bigger than you.
I was going to say, when they lift, they go,
You don't have to call me out like that.
Thank you
We've
so
all
much.
seen you do core, Catherine. You don't need to brag. Jesus.
Thank you so much for saying that, Catherine. That I am incredibly touched. I don't handle compliments well. So
Really?
yeah, I know this is not new information, but I thank you so much for saying that. That's very touching. I think that the genre would be impossible to do without buy-in, right, from your players. So like, there's no scenario that's written so well or story that's constructed so artfully that a group of players couldn't just make fart jokes overall to all of it. And that's fun. And I like making fart jokes with you guys. And I love personally that we can do both. You know, it seems like we can be like, cool, we're gonna riff on a very dumb nanoregan idea for 15 to 20 years, and then you know, eventually we'll find our way back to horror, and then
in 3 or 4 episodes.
In 3 or 4 episodes, you know, we'll see.
that.
We gotta play out this nanoregan concept a little bit more. But I love it. I love that we can do both.
Leah has a good point that nanoregan is horror. Like
It's a pretty horrifying concept. Can you imagine anything worse than a Republican who can like fit
crawl
under
through
your door?
vents.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Impossible. Like, that's fucking terrifying. That's fucking terrifying. And you guys inadvertently have
Your
just,
shower head starts trickling down.
you've inadvertently spoiled season 2. That's the entire arc.
That shower.
Do
head
not
joke
ask
is
what
so
you can
good.
do for your country. Ask instead what your country can do for you.
There has to be a better way to end this episode.
Yeah.
I think that was Kennedy, by the way.
Yeah.
Was
And
it?
Kennedy
I
was a
can't
Democrat,
nail
wasn't he?
down
We can-
Reagan. I can't do it.
Can't too small, too fast, too dexterous.
small, too
Yeah, that's it.
fast.
I mean, that's kind of the advantage of being nano.
I have one more question.
Okay. By all means.
Thank God.
So,
Thank God, yes.
sorry, say thank God or dear God?
Thank God.
Okay. Leah, did you say dear God?
I said nothing.
Okay. Does anyone want to say dear God?
Dear God.
Dear God.
God.
It seems like you need
You're
this.
also cut off, sir.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. On the first episode, you said that you knew you were dealing with source material that was problematic in its own ways, and that you hoped that you could tell stories that were inclusive and that time would tell if you succeeded. How we doing?
Okay. To answer that question, I'm not specifically trying to call you out.
Fuck.
However,
But you're fired.
but you're fired. Yeah. The episode ends with me killing Alex. No, it's all good. That's a very good question. The thing I'm saying about I'm not trying to call you out is the one thing that a lot of the listeners, I think almost every single one of our listeners, except for Alex's partner, might not guess, is that Alex is actually the one who will be the voice of like, should we have made that joke? You know, are we part of a community that we can understand all the nuances to like make a specific joke? And there are jokes that we have cut from the podcast just to be safe, just because we're like, we didn't feel like we understood all the context and we were in the right place to be able to like determine whether that was just a joke in good taste or not. And Alex is often the voice who dictates that. So not to call you out on that, but the reason I'm bringing that up is because one time there was a joke that we made, and I can't remember specifically what the joke was, but you were like, I don't know if this is a good joke. And then some of us were like, well, I don't know. It just kind of seems like we're just like riffing, and it was like whatever. And I don't think it's like it's coming across as like derogatory.
Jizzixstan.
Amongst 100 million
The
fucking options.
the fact that we cut any jokes and we still have like those things in has to tell you a lot.
It should tell you a lot.
It has to tell you a lot.
It should tell you a lot. But you said something that really resonated with me. It was a version of, and I can't remember exactly what you said, but you were like, you might be right, but I don't think that we're the people who can decide that. And I think that's how I'd answer your question. I don't actually think that I get to decide if I succeeded or not. I think that like what I tried to do, and what I'm trying to do with this story, is that like H.P. Lovecraft, his stories tend to have a theme of like the colonial powers are the ones that are bringing order and good. And like historically, that has not been the case. It's actually kind of been exactly the fucking opposite. So in my stories and like when I'm constructing the power structures in my world, I'm trying to make it clear that like, no, they're not. They're not the ones bringing order. They're actually the ones like causing a lot of the problems. And so I'm trying to just use his creatures to like demonstrate that point. I don't know if we succeed, and I think I'm too close to it to be able to determine. So that I think that'll be up to our audience, I think, to determine whether or not I have succeeded.
Sven,
If
you're out there.
can you say yay or nay?
Yay.
Y-E-J or N-E-J?
We really care about your opinion. The stars aren't all right at gmail.com.
Again, not plugging our social media, just our Gmail.
just email
Bunch
us.
of fucking millennials. Good God.
Hey, Google, what they call the Google social network again? It's like
Oh, fucking Google Plus.
Google Spots or Google Plus.
Google
yeah.
Plus.
Google Plus is going to take off.
It lasted for 9 months. It was actually less than you would carry a human child. It was not a successful social media network.
Not carried to full term.
And on that note,
Okay. We have to stop.
I think Catherine has the right of it. I think that is where we will end.
But wait,
But Catherine has her hand up
there's
Because
more.
she has to go to the bathroom.
because she has to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, naturally.
But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more.
There's more.
But wait, there's more. Brian, what's next?
What's next? Thank you so much for actually being a professional in any capacity whatsoever. So
True.
we have a couple of concepts that are boiling that will probably come out over the next couple of months. One is we have a D&D one shot that is run by Alex. He is going to be our DM for that adventure. Catherine has actually put together a scenario for Call of Cthulhu. I said over the next few months. Catherine is going away for the next few months, so we might not be able to do that one for a while. But
She hates us. She's leaving.
She hates us, yeah, which makes sense. You listened to this episode.
It is a hard go being a Russian sleeper
It
agent.
is. She has to go to Azerbaijan to assassinate someone.
She's doing a stag party in Ashgabat. So
Yeah.
I mean, I tell you where I go, but you can't know for sure.
Yeah, it's true. We don't.
you're actually going to like Dryden, Ontario.
this teeming metropolis
Going
of Dryden,
to
Ontario.
Brandon, Manitoba.
Manitoba. So there is some
To
content.
learn the art of scissoring.
Ah.
That is probably the most accurate.
Whoa. Nice.
But Catherine has a Call of Cthulhu scenario that she has put together, and we're all very excited to play in. Tom and Leah, I'm going to put on the spot right now because they're going to do something, and it's going to be great. What? You should expect, as I said in the end of the previous episode, that was the stool. It was a stool. It wasn't me. It wasn't from my butt. No butt. We do have some other folks, some talented improvisers who I know who are interested in joining us over the summer for some one-shots. So expect more content from us. Tom and I will probably stream video games.
Yep.
And thank you again, everyone, so much for giving us your attention. We very, very much appreciate it. And we will see you next time.
Thank you again to everybody who's listening. We know a lot of you of our loved ones or our friends or our family. Thank you so much for your support. We appreciate it truly and sincerely.
Woo! Thank you.
Yes, Mom.